work session meeting for the Caddo Parish Commission on April 19th to order. It's 3:30. Roll call, please, Mr. Clerk.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Present.
Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Young.
Present.
Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Cawthorn.
Present.
Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Talaferro.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
Commissioner Epperson. Okay, I'm counting 9 of 12 present.
Okay, so we have a quorum.
We do have a quorum.
All right, I neglected to ask to prepare anyone for the invocation and the pledge. Commissioner Talaferro, would you please lead us in invocation? And Commissioner Cawthorn, could you please lead us in the pledge?
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus, we do love you, and because we do, we are so thankful for the opportunity to come together to do your work for our citizens. Heavenly Father, lead us to make wise decisions for our parish and for those citizens who put their trust in us. Bless this meeting today. Again, help us to make wise decisions. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Join in the pledge. Former military hand, brow salute. Everyone has over the heart. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Cawthorn. Thank you, Commissioner Talaferro. Welcome, Commissioner Burrell. Do we have any agenda additions, Mr. Clerk?
There is one item that has been proposed for an agenda addition, and it is to authorize a special resolution of appreciation and recognition for Antioch Baptist Church from Commissioner Jackson.
So move for addition.
Second.
Second.
Okay, could we have a roll call vote on, or a vote on that, please? Let's see, I guess we need to open it up for the floor.
We need to open the hearing.
Open the meeting up. Is there anyone in the audience or from the floor that is opposed to the expansion of the agenda? Hearing none, we will call a vote on that.
Okay.
We're on voting on the agenda additions.
What did
It's allow Antioch Church is on the list there.
Mr. Burrell?
All right, that motion passes with 10 in support and 2 absent. And that, I'm not aware of any other agenda additions.
I have none.
Okay, that brings us to citizens' comments, where citizens who wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning can please fill out a comment card located in the chamber foyer and return to the president or the clerk of commission. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes. I have not received any comment cards as of yet.
I have none.
Okay.
Next item.
Then we'll move on to visitors, where we have one item today. Kristen De La Houssaye of Capital Area Finance Authority has joined us, and she has a presentation to make.
Is it okay if I give this to you to pass out? Hi, Kristen De La Houssaye. Can I take this off, or do I need to keep it on? I'm Kristen De La Houssaye with Capital Area Finance Authority. I don't know if y'all remember, I was here in 2019. We presented our down payment assistant program, and y'all were able to approve it. So we're able to we're able to offer this in Caddo Parish. And how we do that, just for anybody that's new, I've given out kind of who we are, one sheet. But basically, we work with lenders, and those lenders that are working with home buyers to purchase homes, and they're struggling with a down payment or closing cost, then they can offer a CAFA grant. And as a thank you to allowing us to be in the parish, because we're in a 9-parish region, so anything outside of that 9-parish region, we have to get a cooperative endeavor agreement with the parish. And so because we're able to come into Caddo, we share our fees. And since 2019, because of the amount of loans, and that's a total of 212 home buyers now, new home buyers now, that probably couldn't have gotten into the home without the assistance, it's $50,000 in fees. So, and I've been here 3 years. We are, like I said, in 59 parishes, so that's 50 parishes outside of our 9-parish region. We haven't seen anything like this. So I do want to give a shout out to Lakeisha Russell. She's one loan officer of the 212 loans. She has done 164 of those 212. Any one of y'all that know her passion, know that this is sort of her wheelhouse. She really wants to help people get into the home. So I did want to say thank you to her. She was supposed to be here at the meeting and she couldn't make it. And I have a check that we wanted to just get a picture so we could do a press release if anybody, I don't know how we're going to do that.
I believe Commissioner Gage Watts and Commissioner Johnson were going to come down to take the picture, and Crystal is here to take that photo.
Great. Does anybody have any questions about our programs? And yeah, that's what I was hoping that we could put that in the.
Orphan of me.
I'm like, you can tell we got a lot of money. They're not very excited about this 50,000.
Oh, wait, everybody else has theirs on.
Well, I need to take mine out because I came in and already
Yeah, just, and just to know that this money that comes back, it's, it's whatever y'all want to do with it. We've seen beautification projects in other parishes. We've seen just lots of different things. So we hope to continue to see this success, and if y'all have any questions, please let me know. We do a lot of marketing up here because of the lenders that are wanting to offer it. And anything? Nothing?
Okay, got some commissioners that want to speak. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had a question for you, Ms. Delahousse. I was wondering what kind of homes they are that people normally get. Are they new builds? Are they old houses? And I wonder if you, or if you have heard of any programs that supply people funding for repairing or refurbishing a house that they then move into.
I think there are some that the state offers. We don't get any federal dollars, so we don't do that right now. We do have one that we're working with a master servicer that we're hoping to do that. It should be rolling out by the end of within this year, probably in the next couple of months. So it'll be going definitely with one of our lenders that's kind of working on that program right now. And so if somebody were to purchase a home that, say, was an older home, and they were purchasing it, say, for $100,000, and it was going to cost $14,000 to upgrade the HVAC system, then they could get a loan for $114,000. The grant would cover that, and the loan officer would be able to fund that. So that's hopefully coming soon. We don't have that currently, though. And the homes that we have, that we do, it's really it can be new construction, it can be, I think most of them are older homes or just any kind of homes. Can't be mobile or manufactured, and that's not a CAFA overlay, that's really just a master servicer. We use Freddie Mac for conventional, and FHA don't allow for those, and so with these kind of programs. But other than that, we just see, typically it's between, I'd say $195 to $250 is the average home price. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer. So we have a lot of people that say are going to keep their home and buy another home. Maybe they want to keep that for rental property, maybe building the wealth through real estate. You can own up to 2 properties. So because we are self-sufficient and self-funding, we're not getting federal dollars. We don't have to follow a lot of the different requirements that some of them do, like the state organization. So.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's all.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate
Got
it.
some more
Oh,
commissioners.
yeah.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick question. I mean, have you visited with the Northwest Louisiana Association of Realtors?
We've just joined them, yes.
Okay, good deal.
And the problem, not the problem, but they're not doing a lot of open things right now. So when we joined, I guess this was a couple of months ago, we've been a member for over 6 months, but they were with COVID. So we're going to sponsor some of their events.
Okay.
A lot of things that we like to do is get with the lenders and the realtors to do first-time homebuyer seminars, because part of our mission is education. So we do that through the realtor associations.
Okay, yeah. And that's good to know, because we are back in live training now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so.
I will get in touch
Scott,
with them.
Yeah, talk with Scott over there and see if you can get in front of our continuing ed.
That's exactly what we wanted to do last year, so I appreciate that. I'll definitely reach out.
Yeah, because, and so, as I understand it is, get off my podium here, is that oftentimes when we have people that just don't qualify because they have a lower score than a 620, we pretty much tell them to go kind of do some debt counseling, eliminate some debt. So this 620 is kind of a breath of fresh air for a lot of realtors that otherwise would not be able to provide a house or their client an opportunity to get financing.
Yes, it is. I think that lower, because it used to be, I mean, there's one of our programs that it's a 660 on FHA, 640 on conventional, but one of these programs that they're doing the most of, CAFA Gold 100, is a 620 credit score. That really does help a lot of home buyers.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Vice President Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Forgive me, I remember when you spoke to us a couple of years ago, but I don't recall the relationship. What is the relationship between the parish and CAFA?
So, because we're a local housing finance authority in Baton Rouge, working in that 9-parish region, for us to step outside of that footprint, we have to just get permission from the local government.
Okay, so that was
it. And when I presented, a couple years ago, it was basically telling you about the program, that there is no risk to the parish, and that we do share our fees.
great.
So just.
And that's how the $50,000
That's the 50,
check.
yes.
All
And I
right.
was actually coming in February, and I think and it was 36,000. I had to erase it and redo it. So in the last, I guess, month and a half, there's a check that's coming for $12,000. I wasn't able to bring it today because we had to get the board approval to sign off on it. So, but that will be, y'all be getting that soon, and that's going to bring it up to the 50,000. And so we have a lot more in the pipeline right now. So we just see this as a continual partnership that y'all are that we're gonna work with.
Thank you very much.
Caddo.
That's my kind of partner. Appreciate it.
I like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stormy.
Parliamentarian Burrell.
Thank you. How does your non-repayable down payment assistance work?
We have some that are grants, and they're just, what we say is it's a spread on the rate. So whenever we have our investors that are hedging the rates every day, we call it a to be determined. So every morning there's a rate that comes out, just like a market rate, but there's going to be a little higher rate on that. And that's how we are sustainable. It's not a bond, there's not a pocket of money. And then we have some that are the main program that does so well here. It's a soft second. So it is forgivable, but there are terms. So you have to stay in the house for either 7 years or 10 years. But if you stay in the house for 7, if that's the term you chose, you do not pay that back. It's completely forgivable. And I want to say in January and February, we were seeing people with a 620 credit score get a 2.875 on a loan, which is unheard of. The beauty of another kind of benefit of this program, there's no loan level pricing. So if you have a 620 credit score and you go to get a loan, you're going to be able to a lot of times get approved, but your rate is going to be out the water. Our rate is the rate. Doesn't matter if you have a 620 credit score or an 850 credit score. So, but that's to answer your question, it's a spread on the rate. So the rate's a little bit higher than what the market's going to be bearing that day.
So that margin that you're talking about there may be non-repayable.
Yeah, you don't pay it back. There's the program that has the soft second, you would have to pay it back if you moved out, but most people realize that, okay, I need to get into a house now, start building my wealth, and in 5 years when I move out, I'll owe a little bit back because it starts to depreciate. And then after 7 years, it's completely forgiven, so they do not pay any of it back.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kristen, thank you so much. I was glad to hear my colleague over here to my left bring some excitement about that $50,000. Commissioners, I think that's something that we just all need to give a round of applause for. Thank you all so much for supporting this initiative. Thank you for making a lot of citizens homeowners. Without a program like this, especially during these unprecedented times, that would be something that would only be a dream. So we're so grateful to be able to continue to use these funds to reinvest back into our citizens of Caddo Parish. We're honored to partner with you, looking forward to continuing this partnership, because this is a grant that doesn't run out of money.
It doesn't, no.
So that is the good news. Tell the people how they can apply.
So if you go to one of our approved lenders, and a lot of times people will call us and we can direct them, but if they go to our website, there's a list of lenders. So if a lender is approved with us, they just go through that particular lender. And, we have a debt-to-income ratio requirement. We have a income-based limit that we require, and we have the FICO score. And other than that, it's, up to the lender's going to be working with that borrower. If you are a lender or you have a lender that that isn't participating, they can get in touch with me. We have master servicers for all of our different programs, and they would get approved with that master servicer, and then they would be able to offer the grant.
So if I didn't have any money towards, let me say if I had a little money for down payment, could I also qualify for this grant?
You could. So we don't look at, of course, reserves would help strengthen a file if you say needed that, but that's not necessary. You don't have to have reserves to have this. A lot of times people will have money in the bank, they're going to purchase a home and they need to buy furniture, and maybe they need to do some upkeep on the house, and they don't want to dip into their savings. And if the pandemic taught us anything, it's that, a lot of times we need our reserves.
Absolutely.
And so you don't want to tap into that. And it's really hard for a 20-something-year-old, especially just getting out of college with student loans, trying to stuff away something for a nest egg and come up with at least 3%, plus the closing costs. So, we see people sometimes get 10, 15. We've seen people getting $20,000 for the grant. And that would be a lot of money to have to save if you had to come up with that.
It certainly is. Thank you again so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you, and it's great to see housing at the forefront of what we do down here. So often, affordable housing is overlooked, and a lot of people think affordable housing is public housing.
Right.
And it's not. You can be in a $200,000 house and it not be affordable. You can be in a $500,000 house and it not be affordable if that debt to income ratio, or if your house burden, if your
Right.
mortgage burden, basically. I know that y'all do some work in the East Baton Rouge area beyond just lending. Is there any interest in doing anything just beyond the lending capacity?
I think that with, and I could be misspeaking, so I'll check on that. I think we have to stay with that capital area region to do our multifamily housing and our other projects that we do. So being a public purpose, anything that's good for the community, we can get involved with. But I think that has to stay within that 9-parish footprint.
Okay.
But I will, I'll confirm that and get back with y'all.
Well, I'm the congressional representative for the Louisiana Housing Corporation in this region, and so
Yeah.
if there's anything that we can do to bring some of that multifamily development to this region, I know y'all have some flexible finance options.
Okay.
We've worked with y'all on lytics before, so
Yeah, and LHC, their jurisdictions, all 64 parishes, as you know. With us, I think we're able to come out and do the single-family housing. I don't know if we can do other projects, but I'm going to definitely check, because if we could, we would love to.
yeah. So the need is both single family and multifamily.
Yes.
And just working to develop some of the neighborhoods. I think Commissioner John Paul Young probably was hitting at, what type of development you're doing, because we really need a focus on sort of restoring and rehabbing some existing structure, because we have some good housing stock here. And so I'm a big fan. Was very excited when we did it in 2019. It's good to see the fruits of the labor paying off. Many thanks to Lakeisha Russell. I know when she first was starting out doing it, she was very excited And I always would see her on Facebook pushing it, saying
She
I got a
does.
grant.
She
for
does an
everybody.
amazing job.
And so, very excited to see years later the rewards or the awards. Would love to see the award dollars go into a down payment assistance program, basically being put back into the community again. But whatever we choose to do with those dollars, I hope that it is something that's good. But I don't think you can go wrong with down payment assistance anytime. And when you agree that anytime that you're creating homeowners, you're basically lifting people out of poverty.
Right. You're helping to build that wealth.
Yeah.
And then it's definitely helping the state with, putting somebody in their now property taxes. And
Exactly.
so it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Everybody. Thank you, and please send my regards to Lakeisha in her absence. We appreciate her, we appreciate you.
I will.
And we appreciate Capital.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, she was our lender of the year last year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
All right, that brings us to master plan update.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I come to you to talk real briefly about the master plan. We've sort of talked with the master plan for 2021. We have a master plan advisory committee that consists of representatives from the City of Shreveport, the Metropolitan Planning Commission, and in past years, the Caddo Parish Commission. And this was a group of elected and appointed officials that dealt with exploring the provisions of the master plan and determining the effectiveness of the master plan and making recommendations on how we go forward with those recommendations of the master plan. This year we have not had a meeting, and part of the reason that we haven't had a meeting is that we're requesting that you appoint representatives from the Caddo Parish Commission in order to complete the appointees on that board. We understand the situations that have occurred, and that has nothing to do with the Master Plan Advisory Committee, because we will be talking about planning as it affects the City of Shreveport and the Parish of Caddo. And we hope that at your earliest convenience that you might get around to appointing the two members to this committee, and we'll start back the meeting together, and then this body will always be informed of everything that's happening with the master plan as it relates to the present master plan that is the Great Expectations 2030. And even now it will still be active and in effect throughout the year 2021. So it's important that you have participation in this process. We have been involved in neighborhood engagement. In recent times, we developed the neighborhood participation plan as a part of neighborhood engagement from the master plan, and that has consisted of applicants coming to the City of Shreveport. Some of you, as I look around the horseshoe, some of you have participated in some of these neighborhood participation plan meetings. They have been, in our estimation, extremely successful. It gives the applicant or developer an opportunity to explain what's being proposed in their area to the neighbors of that area. This is a process that's uninclusive of the MPC, not so much inclusive of the City Council or the Caddo Parish Commission. It's an opportunity for citizens to have an opportunity to ask all of the questions they have about a particular development and share with developers and applicants their concerns about what's being proposed. I think we've had about 10 of these for the first time in my 26-year history, and Commissioner Jackson was at this particular meeting for the first time. We had a liquor store proposed in a particular area, and there was no opposition to the liquor store. And it just shows the power of communication and the power of eliminating rumors. And I think we got our very best start with Commissioner Talaferro over with the persons with the auto body shop for Captain Steve, I think it was. But we've had, at these meetings, we've had city council persons and parish commissioners working together, serving the constituents of their particular districts. And they've gotten all the answers that we think that they feel that they need. What happens is after this meeting, a report is developed explaining, summarizing the results of the meeting. And then we have a pre-application conference. At that pre-application conference is an opportunity for the developer to present his conceptual site plan to share with all of the different departments of the city or of the parish, wherever the jurisdiction occurs. And that process goes through them being able to advise them of everything that's not included in the site plan, what needs to be done. And then after that process, we have a MPC, if it's a requirement for the MPC board to recommend an approval, then they bring that to the actual MPC meeting. What we've done with that process is, some of you will remember, one of our biggest problems 2 to 3 years ago was that it was taking far too much time to get any process through the MPC. And in an effort to change that, as part of what the master plan recommended, we came up with a fast process in order to keep the process moving with a developer where it never ever really stops. And we think that that's been extremely successful. It's important that one of the things that we've been dealing with is affordable housing in the master plan. And we have had an opportunity, and we sort of struggle with this process, and we think it's going to be successful. We just got it approved in the city, and it's tracking through the MPC board to come before the Caddo Parish Commission, where we reintroduce manufactured housing in residential districts. For years and years, manufactured housing was allowed in residential districts, and in recent years, we removed it totally from residential districts other than residential agriculture, residential mobile home parks, and residential mobile home subdivisions. This will not be an automatic. It's done on a case-by-case basis. In order to have a manufactured home in a residential area, you would have to get a special exception use approval approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals. If that is approved, and instead of in the city where those approvals are appealed to the district court for ZBA, in the city and in the parish, that would be appealed to the city council and the Caddo Parish Commission. So just summing up, we've had these things going on. We're also getting involved in short-term rentals. Most of you, that's another form of housing that was referred to in the master plan. We had no real regulations to deal with short-term rentals in Shreveport or Caddo Parish. We had a lot of complaints about some of the negative impacts of short-term rentals. We are going through the process of developing an ordinance to address, not to be restrictive, not to be prohibitive, but just developing an ordinance to address the concerns of short-term rentals. I could go on and on for the next 30 minutes, but I'll conclude my presentation at that point, Mr. President.
Got a couple of commissioners that want to ask you a question.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Clark. Thank you for your work. It's great to hear you say that for the first time you've had a liquor store be approved without any neighborhood opposition. I hope that doesn't necessarily open the floodgates for people to think that they don't come put liquor stores in neighborhoods. But I'll tell you, I commend you and your staff on that neighborhood participation concept. I think anytime you can get people to sit down and have a conversation and get rid of the unknowns, which is typically what defeats a project, is what people don't know about it, or development, I shouldn't say project. is typically what people don't know about it. I like the setup from start to finish. It wasn't anything formal. We all met outside. It was a come and go, and that's what really is needed throughout. I know it may put a little extra work on you, but what it shows is that you're trying, and you're trying to hear from people, and that's something that should be always recognized and commended. So if I can do anything to help, I know we got some. I think I received 2 more notifications. Do y'all use the same public notification system that we use?
We have a postcard. We send them out through postcard.
No, I'm talking about to alert the public, like when we post our agendas and stuff. Do y'all use that same system?
We put it on the I think the Caddo Parish webpage and the MPC webpage.
Okay.
And the City of Shreveport webpage.
So do y'all do it like a public notice almost?
Sort of like a public notice. Yeah.
Okay. So I was gonna say maybe if y'all could borrow our public notification system when our agendas go out, that may help alert and maybe get the media to also notify the public as well.
And we haven't had, I think the last meeting, and I think I was informed that Commissioner Atkins was at that meeting. I think we had over 100 people at the last meeting out at Norris Ferry and Southern Loop. So it's not a problem getting the notification out.
I got you.
And it's just, and I think that was an excellent meeting. We have not had and some of you may remember when we used to have the bloodbaths for meetings when developments were coming in. These meetings are very civil.
Mm-hmm.
People, I think that once you start informing the public, because the public has not been always trusting of government, but once you start informing the public of exactly what's happening, and they have an opportunity to ask all the questions, because that time frame is limited in here with the board, MPC board or the commission or the council, because you got so many other things to do.
And to be clear, this is before it ever gets to a vote.
Before it ever gets to even the MPC board. The citizens know everything there is or everything they want to know about the particular development that's coming in.
Thank you. Well, great job and keep up the great work.
Thank you
Mr.
so
President.
much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Director Clark, thanks for all the changes that are going on. I know I received a calendar invite from your staff. We have one in my district tomorrow night at 5 p.m. and I'll be there. And I think it's really cool. It's at the end of the day, communication is the key, and if we bring in the public, that it's going to have a better, favorable achievement. My question is, I know we worked on the MPC online application process. I think we're probably sitting about 8 months now, and we put $20,000 into it. Is the company that we paid, are they done? Is it ready?
Granicus is proposing a soft showing in June, and it goes live in July.
Okay.
Everything is in place. They've done an incredible job. If you'd like, we can give the commission a preview, but they've done an incredible job, and that's gonna assist us even more with this process of connecting with the general public, because that website is going to be massive. As you all know, it was done by a company that around the United States has done many governmental web pages, and it's going to tap all of the wheels and bells that are possible to reach the citizens at every level through apps on the telephone, web pages, etc.
What I'll do, Director, is I'll get with the President. We'll see about either putting a meeting, putting it on our agenda in the public session, or maybe just on a long range. But I think our colleagues are going to love to see when you showed me what it did. It's pretty impressive. But a lot of developers and business people throughout the city are going to be very impressed and excited to use it. So thank you for getting that done. I'll get with you and President.
Thank you. We're real excited about the web page. We've tried to combine, to the extent possible, the City of Shreveport, the Parish of Caddo, with the MPC on one central, one-stop shop location where citizens can get all of the information that they need about everything that's happening in the city and in the parish.
My last question, Director, have we made any progress on getting any solutions for the 18-wheeler parking lots? Any type of hard gravel that could achieve that process? You want to get back with me on it?
No. I was looking around at the Director of Public Works because there are some alternative surfaces that applicants are referring to us that we're working with him to determine if that is really a hard surface. We wanted an expert to give us the interpretation of whether or not it was truly a hard surface and it was sustainable, so that we would not just only require asphalt concrete.
Thank you.
So we haven't stopped looking into that.
I have two companies that they don't leave me alone about it, so I can't leave
I
you
haven't
alone
left
about it
him
either.
alone about it, but
Thank you, Director Clark.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, President.
Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Alan, you know, in a past life, I've dealt quite a bit with master plans and over the period, and they seem to change as the years pass and how we do them. Let me ask you a general question. If a project or development is approved through the master plan, how does this approval affect the final outcome of the project or development as it moves through the final process, approval process, in making it shovel-ready for construction?
well, you know, one of the things that the purposes of the one of the purposes of the master plan was to determine where certain development would develop. You know, it determines the land use map determines where residential property, where commercial property, industrial property, et cetera, is. So when someone comes in to apply for to develop something, say something industrially, the master plan determines whether or not that property is deemed appropriate for industrial development. You know, when you have the master plan, as you well know, and this master plan is for 2030, it shows how this land is projected to develop over this period of time up to 2030. So everything we do when we are taking rezoning cases, special use cases, et cetera, is based on the recommendations of the master plan and the master plan map. And that's the starting point, and we go build from that point onward.
So it gives it more credence.
It gives it credibility and credence, yes, sir.
All right.
Because it ensures that whatever you do will be compatible with the other surrounding uses in a particular area. So that's the structure and the true importance of the master plan, because it's done all of that. It's reviewed how the land will develop over the time frame involved, and if this is compatible with what's proposed to happen in 20 years.
Well, I know sometimes it get bogged down in MPC because it becomes a lightning rod, and then people at that point want to come in and say, well, look, I didn't have any input, blah, blah, blah. And it creates considerable problems moving forward with any development in Shreveport. And that's one of the biggest complaints that I've heard.
Yes, sir. And just one last thing, you know, the master plan, the Great Expectation 2030, made a valiant effort to include all of the different sectors of the community in its adoption and in its development. We are aware that it did not totally meet its goal, and that's what causes some of the pushback, because you get citizens and developers and others saying that I knew nothing about this. This is something that's totally new to me. I don't like this. I don't want this, and I'm not going to have this. So, and that's why we got so deeply involved in our citizen engagement processes, because you have to make sure that citizens are aware of what you're doing and not that you're just trying to do something that sneaks in, because they don't really trust government all the time. Y'all don't have that problem, but we do. But they don't always trust what's happening. And, you know, that's why we've increased our efforts so heavily in making sure that everything comes involved. The Metropolitan Planning Commission is totally transparent, and they are aware of everything that's happening and proposed to be happening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. That's all the commissioners.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Next item.
Next item is the reports, where we have administrative report, and there is an admin report attached.
Good afternoon, President Johnson, Commissioners. Just want to give you the administrative report for the day. You all received an email from me last Friday talking about the Confederate Monument, because we had a public records request before I had a chance to share with you feedback on that issue. We had several contractors looked at the project, and we had one bid, and that bid came out to be 4 times what we had budgeted for the process. So what we're going to do, we're just going to resume our process and continue to look for a service provider that will give us a service within the budget range that we have. So we're still working on it. The update on the disparity study, we received 4 proposals, and we are evaluating the proposals to make sure that they meet our RFP requirements. On the I-49 sign, we did have a breakthrough on that. The state DOT did approve our original design, and now we are trying to finalize that process so we can go off our RFP on that process. On U.S. Treasury Report Emergency Rental Assistance Program, we had 2,900 applicants, and we will be issuing the first check on April 30th to the recipients in the first round. Also, on the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund, the RFP is scheduled to be advertised this Thursday, and we expect to get that back by June 30th. You should have at your station an update on the financial report for the month of March. And we have Mr. Tim Weaver here today to give you a presentation on Public Works. So, Mr. Weaver. Just a slight delay in technical difficulties, but we'll be within a few minutes.
Yeah, we had it working earlier, so we'll see. I'm just going to give like real brief of kind of Public Works. Commissioner Johnson wanted me to give that to you. And first of all, I just want to thank the citizens of Caddo Parish for like a great tax base that we have to work with in Caddo Parish, and the commission, administration, and all the support staff. And basically, Public Works, we have 110 employees. So we used to have about 130 employees, but through right sizing, we've kind of got that down, to a manageable, number. We have a little over $20 million that we manage each year, and it's about 30% of the budget for the entire parish. And I just wanted to give y'all an update. Most people think Public Works is roads, bridges, and solid waste, but I want to highlight some of our other divisions under, Public Works that we do. And first one is adjudicated property. We started that in 2001. So we've been for 20 years, doing adjudicated property. We have really enhanced our program this year, thanks to Henry and the legal. We have sealed bids, and so we have a sealed bid process, and it actually had helped, when the COVID come, that we still we put almost 80 projects on the back 80 properties back on the payroll. And then we have another option through Civic Source if someone wants to get title insurance. They sell several properties each year for our adjudicated properties. So, and then our other deal would be is permits. This is another like program. We always had like permits where, there we go. So that's just the organizational chart, and then that's our adjudicated property. And if anybody needs any, information, I can get them. But this, our next one is our permits. We always had like a small permit office, but after Hurricane Katrina back in 2005, the state of Louisiana required everything to be permitted in the parish. So, before that, there was no really permitting. You could go do electrical, anything else. So what we did is we partnered with the city of Shreveport, and we got a cooperative endeavor agreement with them. And last year they did like 590 commercial and building permits for us. That's not all new, that's some standalone stuff. So we have a real good relationship with them. Our next division that we do, I don't know if some of y'all might know that we have a weights and standards division under Public Works. We just have one officer commissioned by the sheriff, and last year we did over 2,600 permits. And when we started this from scratch in 2010. The first year that we started, we didn't issue any citations. We didn't do any permitting. We just wanted we had several meetings in here. This was jam-packed with people, and we just wanted to let them know, here, we're fixing to start this. And I just want to say, in our first year, we had like 130 citations in 2011. Last year, we only had like 20 citations. So so everybody's been educated. But this department, has generated over $4 million since 2010 in permits and citations. So, and that's with one single officer. So Frank Sambrano, he's excellent. Our property standards, it took a little hit last year with the COVID. We tried to have meetings, in-person meetings with having to have proper due notice with people. But we work anywhere from like somewhere around 80 cases. And Chuck Wilson, he does an excellent job. If y'all call in, we're on top of it. And we have several houses that being tore down right now. So our next one is our fleet services. This is another department that we took over when Commissioner Hopkins come to the clerk's office. Public Works inherited fleet services. We took it over. And we have about 345 vehicles and equipment, with valued at about $6 million. We completed over like 1,500 work orders last year. And then also we have a sign shop with the guys, and they've completed 1,540 permits in the sign shop. And this is like our utility, little division. We make sandbags, every time, there's a rain, we're on it. This same guys, or this team, they help with the COVID testing. I know they help with the water give outs. And it's a good group of guys that out there, and women. All right, our road and bridge, that's kind of our bread and butter. We have 166 bridges. We used to have like 200 bridges. There's still bridges out there, but the federal government changed what defines a bridge. It basically has to be over 20 feet. We had about 30 something bridges that are 19.6. So we have 166 bridges. We have over 800 miles of road, and it's one of the the biggest assets in the parish. It's about $90 million worth of assets that we maintain. It's 1,155 roads. When I first come to the parish, we had 100 miles of gravel and dirt road. And some of y'all have been around. We had motor graders just staged out through the parish. After a rain, you go drop guys off, they'd go to one motor grader to the other. To this day, it's been a long go, 26 years that I've been here. We have 4 miles of gravel road is all we have in Caddo Parish. We have one of the best roads and bridge systems in the whole state, and that's just not me up here talking. we were just awarded $1.86 million through the off-system bridge program, which, you know, y'all pass little resolutions every once in a while. But because we participate in that, last month we got $1.86 million. I mean, when I first come here, we had just a whole bunch of like one-lane wooden bridges, and right now under construction we have 3 bridges under construction right now. The biggest one being on Linwood. It's a little over $1 million. We have one on Mayo Road, and we have one in Keithville Spring Ridge, and that's one of the things. But we just finished a repair up in Myra up in Todd's district. So, and also we have like a north and south camp that does like maintenance on roads, and they completed right at 1,200 work orders for like consisting of mainly trees, ditching, patching of roads. Our next is like solid waste. I mean, that's the big fun. We have 18 sites. We just completed an additional site, a new site. And we have recycling at all 18 sites. So if somebody wants to recycle, we have recycling. We brought in over $80,000 last year in metals that we sold back. And we also, like the sheriff's department, we work with them. I know COVID has slowed down. I know a couple of commissioners called. We can't pick the roads up, but we're looking at alternatives to picking up trash on the side of the road. We don't have crews. We have to, you know, wait on the sheriff's office. You know, with COVID, they couldn't get some of the guys out to pick up, but we're looking at alternative ways of trying to hire a contractor to help pick up, you know, with the litter. And then another thing we do is oil and gas. I mean, we have seen the oil and gas activities in the since January pick up. I mean, you'll see we'll be getting, you know, a check here shortly. We just leased some land, about 167 acres, and it's $1,500 a fifth royalty. And you'll see today on the commission, they've nominated 2 more. I think it's like 11 sections of land, and it's like the reason why it's going to be 2 different ordinances. They don't want over 5 on one to the down in Baton Rouge. So also in 2021, I'm not just going to read everything, but we're just trying to like make things better with doing online stuff. We've learned that we've done like our CVU online, our permits online, and we're just trying to make everything, you know, user friendly, and hopefully with, you know, the MPC, whatever happens with that, we can like make that work like we're working now. And I mean, that's one thing I just kind of hit on the highlights of what we do. I mean, we work with the MPC every week, and if y'all have any questions, or I'll kind of keep it short. And then I guess Lyndon asked about I-69. I don't know if everybody knows about this, but there's a project that's in the works right now with I-69 that we coming to the commission. We have like, I think y'all approved like $500,000 in the 2020 budget, but there's a project that's going to go from I-49 at Stonewall Frierson Road, and basically going to go all the way to the port on Highway 1. And so we have federal money, state money. We have DeSoto Parish is going to put up their share of money. The port's putting up money, and Caddo Parish is going to be putting up money. So that's the feasibility studies have already started, and it's basically going to be I-69 service road, and it's going to be a nice project for all of Caddo Parish, and it should be, you know, we're saying finished in like end of 2022, probably. Sometimes it'll probably get a little delayed. So, and if anybody wants any maps or on that, we can keep you updated on that. So, but that's all I have. Y'all got any questions or?
You got 2 commissioners, and
all right,
probably be some more after they get through. Commissioner Jackson.
I'm not on there for that.
Okay. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an interest in adjudicated properties,
Yes.
whether you are aware.
Yes, sir.
When I was on the city council, I had a study commission for the city because they said that they thought that they had 2,500, but once the study was done, it was 7,000.
Yes, sir.
And since then, I've sat on the tax sale committee at the Law Institute down in Baton Rouge, developing legislation to try to put these properties back into commerce.
Yes, sir.
My question to you, I know now they keep up with the adjudicated properties in the city because they, as a result of that study, they created the property management department up there, where upstairs, so they keep up with it. Now, from your perspective in the parish, do you all maintain I'll assume a roster of the number of adjudicated properties that you have?
Yeah, I mean, we get that number, we get that number from, over at the tax assessor's office. Yes. I mean, we have our own property management section. So we actually started our adjudicated property 3 or 4 years before the city did. So, but yeah, we do. We don't have a physical roster because they won't give you one because it changes every day. But I mean, it's around 9,000 properties.
Now that's in the parish, and you do not include the cities. It's only outside the city limits.
What it is like you have city, which because I've read your legislation, back when you was a representative, but you have city-only property, you have parish only, and you have city and parish. So and so what we do, we have an agreement with the city where we do the ones that are city and parish, and the parish. So the city does the city only. So.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. I appreciate your presentation. The I-69 feeder, is that along an existing road, or will that be a new right-of-way?
It's a little of both. I mean, when it starts in DeSoto Parish, it goes down Stonewall Frierson Road, which it's in a designated already on the road. Now, there's like an alternate A and a B right through there. They don't know if they're going to turn south and go through Frierson, but then once it comes over into Caddo Parish, it'll be a new section through there, and then it's actually going to tie in a new section to Robson Road, where Robson Road actually kind of goes back up north, and then it'll go along the right of way on Robson Road.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll be cutting through the fields down there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chavez.
Thank you, President. Thanks for the presentation, Mr. Weaver. That was very inciting. The information about recycling, which this is news to me. I know that the city, as a city commissioner, I get a lot of calls because the city stopped. What mediums are we recycling? Are we charging, and where's the plan at, and how are we getting the product? Do you have any information about that?
Yeah, I can get you a whole list of everything that we collected from. Now, we collect all the metals. We sell it to the different scrap yards, and we take paper. We were taking plastic until there's when the city stopped their recycling, there's really no market, for plastic. So, we stopped doing that temporarily until maybe they start back. And then we stopped doing glass several years ago because there's not a market for glass either. So
I was wondering about the glass and the plastic. I know I've seen a couple small businesses sprout up to try to fill that void, but that was my question: is where are they taking this raw product? Do you know? Are you guys accepting product from businesses or just from homeowners?
No, I mean just citizens of Caddo Parish.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't take them from businesses. So.
All right. I'd like to get some info on that. Hopefully, when I-69 is complete, we can push some raw material down to the port and barge it somewhere else where there is a market for it.
I mean, I wish there was I would hope that.
We'll see. Time will tell.
Well, just from past experience, there's just Caddo and Shreveport's not really a recycling mega here, so but hopefully, it'll get back to that.
But we can be, and we should be.
We should. It takes a lot of education. Other cities. They've been doing. I visit my grandparents in Washington D.C. 40 years ago, and they were recycling 40 40, 50 years ago, so.
I was talking to Commissioner last week about a lady in Africa who makes recycled bottles down into home bricks, and the bricks are stronger than bricks.
Yeah.
And that's how they're actually building houses. So,
I mean, if there's a market for it, and we're always looking for ideas of, I mean, like I say, we have recycling at 18 sites, I mean, through the parish, and we've been doing that for a long time. And, you know, people drop off stuff all the time. I mean, I can get you the data. We have it down to the pound and the ton of it, you know, of what we recycled every year.
it's good to know the parish is being responsible about that, because a lot of
Yeah.
people, they were griping about that because of the city. So thanks for that information.
Yeah.
President, thank you.
Commissioner Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. I appreciate the information. One of the things that I wanted to make sure and ask was y'all please still evaluate our compactors. I think our times, the one call I get almost every day is somebody can't get to the compactor from our times we have. They work. If there's any way to add a Sunday when most people are off, please consider that.
Yeah, we have that in the, we've
Okay.
done some, you know, like number wise, and we've done like daily traffic, and we're still studying that. just to
Okay, and
try
then
to-
our other thing is, because I rode this past weekend, and the amount of trash in the road ditches is unbelievable up in District 1.
Yeah, it's.
And there's a,
It's all
there's
12
actually
of them.
a state program, I believe, right now, where the various departments pick up trash as they go to their different spots. So if a road crew was going to Crawford Road and they were coming Parish roads that way, they could pick up any trash there and too. And that might help until we can get our road crews back out.
Yeah.
That would just look at that.
I mean, our road crews, and that's when I left that out. You know, during the COVID, I mean,
Yeah.
all our guys, we haven't missed any time. We've worked since last March, so.
But I will say, anybody that doesn't think Caddo Parish has good roads, they need to drive into East Texas, Cass County, not a farm to market road, but a county road, or just into Arkansas on a county road, and you'll see how good the roads in Caddo Parish are.
Yeah, I believe we have like the best roads, and like I say, our compactor system is one of the best. I mean, DeSoto Parish, we gave them our plans, they copied it, and I mean, they're probably neck and neck with us on compactor. I can't say we got the best system anymore, but I mean, they have they set up the same, you can go to their sites and it's identical to ours. I mean, we gave them the plans, and they have their own landfill, so that helps out.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Calfaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Weaver, thank you so much for what you do for the parish, and thank you for the quick responses that I've received as a commissioner to some of my constituents' needs and concerns. Back to recycling, I'm going to piggyback off of Commissioner Chavez, is that, yeah, we could do much better, I think. Is our current recycling practices, will they be based on what Shreveport does, or could we actually go out there and do our own research and pretty much, do our own thing and be the model for the rest of the parish to follow?
I mean, we have 18 sites where any citizen or even in the city of Shreveport can come take it. I mean, before the city, we only had like plastic. Reason why I guess there's not a market. We only had 200 tons for the whole year. So, I mean, so like I said, we're not, like when I say we're not dependent on the city of Shreveport, but if you're only getting 200 tons of plastic, it's not like you can go sell that somewhere. So that's just not feasible. Now, we could spend more money, hauling it to East Texas or somewhere where they take it, but I don't think we'd want to do that. But
Well, yeah, and I agree I think you mentioned the word education.
Yeah.
I think that if we educate our public that we do have a viable way to ship plastics out of the area to a facility that actually does recycling well. I came through Oklahoma, and and they have a great recycling program. I even found a private entity here where the trash can says we recycle, and they have a great plastic. They're shipping those glass and plastic products somewhere. I find it hard to believe that somewhere in the United States, someone doesn't do this better. And with our transportation system, it seems that we could, maybe talk to the port, find a way that we could actually ship it up there.
I mean,
and break even.
I'll call that company. I see their trash cans in my neighborhood and
Yes,
ask
sir.
them.
I've seen the same.
I'll ask them where they're selling it to.
Yes, sir. That'd be great.
And I'll let you know.
Appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Tim, just a couple of things. And I appreciate the work that you guys do. I go by that compactor on North Lake Shore every day.
Yep.
At least twice a day, going to work and then coming back home. And it's a steady flow of people coming all throughout the day. On our roads, where are we with the widening of Royal Road? I thought we
Oh
was
yeah.
gonna do that
I mean,
in
I had
June.
that I had that in there. I guess we're gonna this year we're doing on our roads we're gonna do phase
Phase
2 and 3.
Okay.
And then we just let the road treatment project a little over $5 million, and we have a little over 40 miles of road scattered out through the parish. And before we do those roads, we'll send out a little email to each commissioner so y'all know what roads are fixing to get worked on. So if somebody calls, y'all know about it. But yeah, we do have Roy Road on there.
For 2 phases or 1 phase?
I think 2 phases.
Okay, because it was 3 phases from what I was told.
Yeah, then we've done 1 phase.
I must have missed it. Okay. All right.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. And then have we purchased the snow and ice blades for the truck?
I mean, I had that in there too. I didn't want to get real long, but we have not purchased those yet.
Yes, in the 2022 budget.
Yeah. So.
2022?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We prepared the next budget for next year. We'll add those items into
Somebody can catch it on sale during the summertime.
I mean, if we could just work on Parish, if we could work on Parish roads and not have to help the state. I mean,
Get it out of season.
I mean, we have motor graders. They're not. We don't have the blades for them, but I mean,
Yeah.
we bladed a lot of roads with what we have, and we have, and I don't know, we have 4 sand spreaders that are in dump trucks, and
Well,
then we
my
have.
next question is going to Brian's solution instead of the sand spreaders.
Yeah, we have a tank. We will look. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about a tank.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we have.
We're going to try to implement that.
And then we do have we have 4 hopper deals that we do put out salt in. So, but with the sand is I don't know if you were in the meeting with David North, but if you get it out too early,
It's no good.
it whips off the road, and that's kind of what happened. Our North put it on there, and we do all our bridges, but it's kind of like David North said, if you got 12 inches of ice and snow, what are you going to just do the bridges? But yeah, I mean, that's on our list.
Okay, and then I know this one is not on your list. 5900 block North Lake Shore.
All right.
That's a pothole.
5,900.
5900 block.
All right. They're probably listening now. Already got a work order on it. So.
Okay. That's all I had.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Weaver. You're doing a great job. Appreciate it. Hey, Commissioners, just one other point of interest. Mr. Weaver talked about oil and gas leases. Just this past week, we received the two lease payments, one for $233,000 for the General Motors property that we purchased a few years ago, and $23,000 for property that we own in the last oil mineral lease board that met. So we're doing quite well with that property we bought at the General Motors plant. We received about $4.5 million out of the $7.5 we invested, and we still get $160,000 a month with no carrying costs. So now the oil revenues are now starting to kick in now, and we think we got 20% royalty on that as well. So I'm proud to say that was a pretty good investment at the time. That concludes my report for the day.
I got a question for you. Well, a couple of requests, rather.
Pardon me, sir?
So I got a couple of requests for you.
Okay, go ahead.
So for the month of May, want the facilities and maintenance
Okay.
department.
Yes, sir.
Month of June, juvenile services.
Juvenile services. Okay.
Month of July, parks and recreation.
Okay.
Month of August, finance.
Okay.
And month of September, HR.
Okay,
and that would take care of the departments.
okay, we got it.
Okay. Next item.
That it?
I'm on the board for
All right, that brings
You
us,
on for the administration report or communicating?
administration report.
All right, Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson,
Yes, sir.
who in Caddo Parish can come talk to us? And I'm not trying to step on the rural commissioner's toe, particularly Commissioner Hopkins, but who can come talk to us about the earthquakes in Blanchard and give us an update? I'd like to know, as the chair of that committee, that pandemic and disaster. I mean, we've had 2 in the last month, and so I don't know if that's going to be public works.
Probably,
I-
probably a natural resource estate.
Oh, well, it may be. If something bad happens, it's going to be a disaster up there. So
Yes, sir. I'll reach out to.
I'm good with either. I think, and you're on that committee too, though.
No. So I said State Department of Natural
Oh,
Resources.
I got you. Oh, I thought you said Natural Resource Committee.
State.
Okay.
We could reach out to the state and ask them if they get a geology type.
National
Yeah,
Weather Service.
The U.S. Geological
Geological,
Group
right.
might.
Yeah.
We
Well,
reach out to
whoever
them.
can give us some information. I mean, that's a little concerning. Who would have ever thought that in North Caddo we would be having?
Well, supposedly that's how Caddo Lake was formed originally.
Gotcha. Well, if we need to be on the lookout or be preparing for something, let us know. These 100-year events seem like they are up on us for whatever reason.
Okay.
I'm gonna double back. I didn't have a question for Tim, but I'll ask you: Is the snow plow stuff just not in the budget, or is it? What's the reason for holding off?
We wanted to add some additional equipment. I mean, quite a bit of it.
Right.
And pre-stage it for strategic value. And we thought we just planned it in our budget process for 2022.
But wouldn't it-
Otherwise, we had to come back and do a budget amendment on all the various things we want to get.
Okay. Well, I mean, wouldn't it make I'm with Commissioner Johnson. Is let's see if we can get it out of season for a deal, as opposed to. 'Cause I imagine to get it, you'd have to put it on a state contract. And I'm just thinking timing.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
I get what you're saying, but I'm thinking timing. We adopt our budget in December. It'll be January, February, and so that's right in the heart of winter. And so you want to, they know we'll be looking, and they'll know everybody else will be looking, and so then you get into a sort of scarcity, and then you've got to put a contract out and all that other stuff. So I would, if I don't know that anybody will be pulling any hairs out if a budget amendment came through for that.
Okay.
Just
We'll look at it.
just my thoughts on that.
Okay.
If you could, when you get the RFP for the trust fund together, if you could let me know. I have a list of people or a list of organizations. I think like the APA would be glad to share it on their website. Louisiana Housing Corporation, we can put it on that website to make sure that we get maximum response from across the country on it.
For the trust?
For the Housing Trust Fund. You said
Yeah,
it.
we've already got 4.
Okay.
We getting ready to evaluate now.
Perfect. For the Housing Trust Fund? I thought you said for the disparity study.
Yeah, that was a disparity study.
Disparity study, you've gotten 4,
Yeah.
right? No, I'm talking about for the Housing Trust Fund.
Okay.
Okay.
If you
Right,
could,
yeah,
yeah,
right.
if you just let me know when y'all put it out, I can send you probably the contacts or whoever, but
Yeah.
definitely I think like the APA, National Low Income Housing Coalition, just those groups and coalitions that are normally involved in housing can put it out in the right places and get the,
We plan on sending it out Thursday. So
Great.
if you can send us that, we'll include
Okay.
them.
Okay. Also, the rental assistance program, my understanding is, I thought I heard you say that you said we've only had received 2,900 applications,
Yes, sir.
and we're prepared to do 6,000
6,000 families, yes.
with, what, 7 million already here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and 7 million more on the way from the most recent COVID package,
Yes.
or at least so we
Yeah.
think.
Right.
If the math, 6-7 million, and we're still doing the lottery.
Yes.
Because how many have been selected? Didn't y'all do a pool most recently last Wednesday? Is that my understanding? How many were selected in that? Because I already got a call from an apartment property manager saying that some residents got it and the others didn't, and y'all know how that went.
Well, that is part of the process considering the priority, but I think we had 300 that were chosen last. We'll have more chosen this week, more next week. We think based on the funding we have available, we should be able to assist, I'm at the microphone, assist a large number of families, but we have, we will continue to look at the program to determine whether or not the lottery system
I mean,
is working out well.
I definitely get, when I talk to Mr. Collins, I definitely get and understand why you would, but, you know, if we had 5, 6, 7, 8,000 families that had been, but I don't see us maxing out the dollars nowhere near. I would just say, go ahead and cut those, because I mean, you're gonna cut a check this week for 2 families that live in the same apartment complex. Then you're gonna cut a check the following week for 1 family. Then you're gonna cut a check 3 weeks from now for 2 more families.
So part of it also is not to overwhelm the folks that are doing the work. We also have to get various documents in, so part of it is staging it out so that we don't overwhelm folks with all the families showing up at one time. So, but we, like we say, we'll continue to look at it if it's not something that's working.
So how do you if you know that, for instance, if Galilee City, and I'm just picking on them, but if you know that they have 20 families, you just can't just cut the check and they got all that stuff in for
No,
those
we
20
have to
families?
do, there's a whole review process.
Well, of course you have to verify.
Yeah.
Of course.
Individually verification.
Yes.
I'm saying, so why you just can't verify those 20 families?
If they all apply at the same time?
Right, because that's what I'm understanding is that a lot of the multifamily complexes are applying at the same time. And so why wouldn't we just, if they're applying at the same time, they get vetted at the same time? I think it's more work to cut a check this week for Galilee City, then cut a check next week for 2 families at Galilee City, then cut a check 2 weeks from now for 5 families. Just verify them all at once and be done with it.
Okay.
It's just a thought, because it clearly, the money's not gonna run out.
Yeah.
I don't see it running out.
Right.
And my understanding from a call that I was on last Thursday is that Congress is probably gonna give us an option to repurpose those dollars for other housing needs in the community. So I think that concern, it was a legitimate concern about having to send the money back. I think that, they're seeing that across the country, not just here. I think there are certain areas that have sort of a demand, but you do know that at some point we do have to submit sort of an interim report, and part of that interim report is you've got to make sure that you're spending the dollars, and they may say, well, send that money to New Orleans, or we'll send the other half of the money that you were supposed to get in this new round to New Orleans or East Baton Rouge Parish. I just think the lottery system is slowing that down, and it's probably gonna make it look like or appear like that the money is not, there's not a sense of urgency. So, I mean, I just think that that's something, and again, I did talk to Mr. Collins, and he explained why the lottery system, and I get that, but clearly there's not 5,000 or 6,000 families. We're nowhere near the threshold. We're just under half of who you can serve.
Right. We're still marketing it too.
Right.
Hopefully trying to get more word out.
Right. But we're at what, 3 weeks into the program?
Yes.
Right. And so that mad dash, and then I understand, and I'll send you some of those concerns about individuals just not wanting to participate because they think it might be too complicated. So I'll send those concerns over about that, because I did get a inbox in my Facebook about it, and I screenshot it, but I forgot to send it over, so I'll send it over to you. Yeah, I think they were saying something about the application was too complicated or something like that. So that's it for me under the.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, Chairman. Just for clarification, under 8.1, under the admin report, typically it's information from commissioners. Is that still, I know we changed the agenda. Is that still right here?
Yeah, you're gonna still.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Chairman. Dr. Wilson, yesterday we had a situation with, I don't want to say CPAWS because it was not CPAWS. It was a dog in the parish. And I know ultimately most of the citizens look at us to be animal services, and when the issue involves a dog, they call us. There was a a dog that got hit by a car. And to save everybody the gruesome details, he was badly injured. And I received phone calls that they expected us to come pick up the dog and take him to a hospital of sorts. Obviously, that's not our job. Our job is to get at-large dogs off the streets. And ultimately, Kelvin decided to go get that dog, and I don't know what they did. I know you guys will talk about that offline. But I understand why the citizens did not want to get the dog and take it to whichever vet was nearby, because they would have been forced to foot the bill trying to save a stray. So we're caught in this weird conundrum where is there a possibility, and I know Commissioner Jackson has been dealing with this for the last couple of work sessions on setting up a fund balance or something, not a lot. Maybe in a situation like this where the parish can have allocated funds, $10,000, something to where if a citizen is being a good Samaritan, if a stray is hit, that they could take it to a local veterinarian and they could humanely put that dog to sleep, and then we can pick up the tab. That way the citizen isn't sitting there not knowing what to do. We're not able to do anything because it doesn't fall under our charge, and we have some type of a solution. And the reason I ask is I don't know if this body needs to create a fund balance and appropriate those funds, or if CPAWS can formulate something like that. It was just a weird situation that we found ourselves in yesterday, and to pre-plan for the future, can we address that, or is there something that we need to do?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chavez, I'd like to call up Mr. Calvin Samuels, who handled that particular case for you.
Okay.
For us, because there's a preference we would like to use that may be more reasonable. So.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir. Mr. Calvin?
Yes, sir.
Would you explain what happens in cases like that, sir?
Okay, good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. So, of course, each case is situational, especially this one. So this one, a particular animal was injured, okay? It was actually provided to me by a rescue that the animal was injured. So in that particular case, if that animal comes to the shelter, it's going to stress out a little bit more. We only can provide palliative care. So in those particular situations, if the local rescue groups, which they are good at communicating with us, if they can transport that animal for us and try to help, get that animal back straight, that'll help out a lot.
Yeah. And the particular animal in question, Commissioner Chavez, was rescued by a rescue group today. They took it to the veterinarian clinic.
Okay.
Now back to what you were saying, Commissioner Chavez. If the animal is really bad off, and humane euthanasia is actually the last resort, I understand that. So that would help a lot. But for us just trying to foot the bill for an injured animal, it depends, because each injury is definitely situational.
I understand. And this one, like I said, I saw the pictures. This poor animal was in a lot of pain. It would have been humane, I think, to put the animal down as opposed to try to save the dog in the situation that this was in.
Absolutely. And that's one of those situations that we get caught in the middle, like you said, it's kind of like a paradox. We're all working together to try to help the animal, but at the same time, you got to realize the situation for that animal, what's best, who has that answer. Of course, back to CPAWS, like Doc said, we're only palliative care. We're not an actual clinic. We don't have x-ray machines. We don't have equipment to actually conduct what that animal may need depending on the severity of its case.
Yes. And Commissioner Chavez, it may be more apropos to have a rescue group go out philanthropically and try to raise money to help with the situation like they've done in the past. That would be a great use of their skills and talent and time if that could be the case. Because if the parish start putting money aside, it could go pretty high in terms of the tab, and trying to remediate the injury, not necessarily to euthanize an animal, but trying to take care of the animal that requires clinical care. So I think if that's the objective, you're talking about, I know way more than $10,000.
We'll address this more and get into the service, Animal Service Committee.
Yes.
But thanks for helping out yesterday, Kelvin.
Absolutely,
I know that was a tight situation.
It was, and I appreciate you as well. And like I said, none of us are veterinarians on those particular cases. We just try to make the best decision at that particular moment.
Yeah.
you know, until we can get someone on call for the next day.
But Mr. Chavez, that animal is still alive, but it's in a clinic right now receiving care.
Thank you, guys. I
Yes.
appreciate it. That's good to hear.
Yes, sir, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was going to thank Commissioner Chavez for bringing that up. Just one more thing,
Okay.
Mr. Sims, is that, and Doctor,
Yes,
you
sir.
can kind of comment on this. Did you say that there was a rescue that has a relationship with the emergency clinic on Line Avenue?
The question I asked today, Commissioner Talaferro, was that I know we have a listing of rescue groups.
Sure.
But I think the clinics have the same list we have.
Yes, they do. I know before we, in an animal services meeting, we talked about conducting some type of MOU with the emergency vet clinic. We never got any farther until we have another animal
Yeah,
services.
that was my next question.
Yes, sir.
And to piggyback off of
Yes, sir.
Mario's, is that,
Yes, sir.
you know, if we could do the MOU with the emergency vet, because it is the only game in town
Right,
after
right,
hours,
right.
we know that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that if the dog, as Commissioner Chavez mentioned, that if the dog or any animal is in that dire need, that it is obvious that the most humane thing to do is to put the animal down, then euthanasia is relatively inexpensive
Right.
in that regard. Obviously, treatment, as I understand that the dog is now getting. But I agree with you, doctor, or whomever mentioned it, that this is a great way to solicit the participation of rescue groups.
Absolutely.
To actually contribute to or to actually go out there and seek, maybe funding for a specific fund.
Right.
Yes, sir.
To take care of those animals worth saving, because, I'm sure that would get good traction.
Yeah, and they were all chiming in yet last night as
Yeah,
well, so they was trying to help, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, no
Appreciate it.
problem.
Thank you,
No
Mr.
problem.
President.
Thank you, Kel. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mario.
Next item.
All right, that brings us to commission remarks, communiques, reports, and other items related to the work session agenda.
Commissioner Young.
Sorry, that was a mistake.
Okay. Next item.
Okay, that brings us to the president's report.
Okay. First thing I want to start off with is thanking the city, the citizens of Caddo, Bossier City, Shreveport, and basically the architects for the weekend we just had with the Port City Fest. The city was well prepared for it. Even though we had some rain on Friday, the crowds were still moving around town and spending money. The Bayou Classic, the game itself, the matchup this year, Southern beat up pretty bad on Grambling, but I called it the spring edition of the Bayou Classic. The fans had a good time. There was a lot of people tailgating in the area. It just was a lot of good things that was going on for Shreveport and Bossier for those days. The expo was well visited. I know a lot of people went by that and looked at the vendors. A lot of the vendors basically was happy about the crowd that they had, and they had some seminars. They had a couple panels that they talked about different subjects. So it was well received, and it showed the state that we can host a Bayou Classic. Mr. Clark, I received a complaint today in the 6,000 block of Yukon Drive. You can keep your seat. 6,000 block of Yukon Drive. The resident has built an office in front of the house, and so now the neighbors are complaining.
It appears it's on the side of the house, but I've already had an inspector out there
Okay.
checking it out.
Okay. All right. And that will complete my report for today.
All right.
Next
That
item.
brings us to old business. We have no old business today, so we'll move on to new business, where we have a number of items. The first of which is 12.1, which is to authorize introduction of ordinance number 6051 of 2021 in relation to zoning case 21-5-P. And shortly before the meeting began, we did receive word from an NPC staff member that there was a typographical error in this title, and it'll
So
have to be
move to,
re-advertised.
table to next work session.
Second.
Been moved by the chair, seconded by Commissioner Atkins to move ordinance 6051 to the next work session.
That's postpone, right? Postpone? What was the
Postpone,
motion?
table
Will we postpone it?
to the next work session.
Okay.
But we need to be sure about the language, postpone or table.
Okay, so postpone to the next work session.
But I would table, you have to get 3/4 to get it up.
Well, I'm quite sure you'll get 2/3 on oil and gas deal. Okay, so to postpone until next work session.
That's what I heard. Thank
All right.
you.
You voting?
Yes.
Whoops, I accidentally hit the wrong one. There we go.
All right, and that motion passes with 11 in support and 1 absent. And that brings us to the next item, which is 12.2, authorizing the introduction of ordinance number 6052 of 2021. That's in relation to zoning case 21-6-P.
Move to advance.
Second.
Been moved by by the chair and seconded by Commissioner Hopkins. Let's vote. I see no one that wants to speak on it.
That motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. The next item is authorized introduction of ordinance number 6053 of 2021. It's an ordinance to establish the American Rescue Plan Special Revenue Fund and to otherwise provide with respect thereto from Commissioner
So move for
Jackson.
introduction.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak on your motion?
No, I think it's just consistent with everything else we've done. Thank you.
Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, Chair. I just had I was confused. Is this the same thing that we did last session?
No.
I'll let administration answer that because my answer might be biased, but I'll let them answer.
Okay, before we attempt to answer that, let me state this first and foremost. Most organizations are fortunate to have 1 CPA on staff. We are blessed to have 4, and I'm not going to pretend to be a CPA, so I'm going to have one answer that question for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Commissioners, you did receive an ordinance that was introduced at your last meeting that should be voted on Thursday, which adopts the revenue budget for the American Rescue Plan and in effect also creates the fund. This ordinance is also creating the fund. So, I mean, it's
doing the same duplicate.
It seems duplicative, but it's your all's prerogative.
Is it going to create an accounting issue having 2 funds named the same thing, or will these get absorbed into one account and then?
Well, you would be voting on this you would be voting on something on Thursday, and this item would come before you May 3rd. So if the item passes on Thursday, we will proceed with the accounting for the American Rescue Fund and the establishment of the fund.
Guys, I'm sorry, I'm still confused.
I know.
Are we voting on are we voting on?
I'd like to offer some clarification.
Yeah, I need
there's some
some
point of
clarification.
This ordinance doesn't create a separate fund for what is. The ordinance that's on the agenda on Thursday, and I'm gonna read it directly to you. The ordinance on the agenda for Thursday says, I wanna make sure that I'm not wrong. It says an ordinance adopting the budget of estimated revenues. So you have not created any fund yet. No fund has been created. I think you just alluded to needing to create a fund for some other stuff. No fund has been created, and the notion that just simply adopting a budget creates the fund, I think is not true and is not consistent with what our role is as a body. We have to have enabling legislation to adopt these funds, to set up these funds. I've never said that anybody did anything wrong in the past. I just think that it may have been overlooked. Some of these things that are on our agenda for introduction today did not get on the agenda until I took the initiative to call down and reach out to the Louisiana legislative auditors And what has not been told to this body is, they said that I was correct in that the budgets have to be adopted. And what they advised me to do was, what they said specifically was, the Louisiana Local Government Budget Act does not speak specifically to enabling legislation.
That's correct.
And what they advised me to do was to reach out to the Attorney General's office, because they believe that the Attorney General's office had an opinion, and I agree. I'm sure legal will say it's just an opinion, but it also states statute, and it's also gonna cite case law in which the Attorney General has used before to opine on why. Because there is a role and responsibility that we have as supervisors of this government body to set up. Right now, we don't know what the purposes of the American Rescue Fund or the budget of estimated revenues that have been proposed to be adopted. We don't know what the purpose is for. We don't know what the use is for. We don't know how many votes it takes to pass anything. Does the commission body even have to adopt anything? I mean, we didn't even know. We don't know that. And so all this does is set forth a framework. It does not duplicate or take away from what's on our agenda to be voted on Thursday. I believe some people will say that it's more of a formality. I'm all for formality. On our agenda, we're limiting how much time a commissioner has to vote, simply because we said that it wasn't etched in stone. So why wouldn't we be in favor of having enabling legislation that sets out the parameters, that etches in stones what the fund is for, how it's supposed to be used, what the votes are supposed, should it be a 3/4 vote to expend any money? Should it be majority of the body present? That stuff is what we need to know. And as individuals of good government, we need to do, to simply say, well, we have not done it that way before. Some of us on this body got elected because there were some things that were done consistently. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong, but some things that were done for a long period of time. And all you did was showed up and was put into it. So,
You know, Jermaine, that's not germane to your clarification.
well, he asked for clarification.
Ask for clarification on the American Rescue Act, which is.
Well, I'm giving him clarification on the American Rescue
Now
Plan.
to something else that was talking about that before we got on, which I know what you're
Well,
alluding to.
my
but
point,
that's not it.
my point is, because the germaneness of this is, there's a notion that we've never had to do enabling legislation. And I think legally that is wrong. And I had on the agenda today to ask for an AG opinion. I'm prepared to remove that from the agenda because I've already got the AG working on that. And had I not asked for the legislative auditor's opinion about adopting these budgets, some of these things wouldn't be on there today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Dr. Wilson still has the floor on the difference.
There's a reason. I mean, we can add one word, create and adopt, on ordinance 6050 and do the same thing. What we simply were trying to do was to create a fund to receive the money when we receive it, because we know it's coming in. It's due in, I think, May 11th, and the Treasury had not given us the wherewithal, the guidelines to how to even implement the program. So we was trying to do a clean way of putting it into this fund so we wouldn't get a commingle with any other fund and keep it separate. That's what we're trying to do. The administration never said that you can't create enabling legislation, because you did it 3 times. You did it when you created the Housing Trust Fund, the Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund. You did it back in 2008 when you created the Oil and Gas Fund. And you did it when you created the Reserve Trust Fund back in 1999, 22 years ago. Enabling legislation does have its place, but you don't need it in every case, because you don't have enabling legislation for public works. You don't have it for facilities and maintenance. You don't have it for juvenile justice. But what you do have is the citizens vote on it at the ballot box, saying we want to use it this particular way, and that's what gives us the authority to act.
Point of clarification.
But you didn't need any enable legislation to do it.
Point of clarification.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have it.
Letting them finish this.
Because there are 36 funds, and we have 15 funds, particularly that we use all the time. And I have a letter here, email from the legislative auditor that says his opinion. I can read it to you.
Well, I think
You know, in principle, we're not saying Commissioner Jackson was wrong, but in this letter it says that the creating of funds is a budgetary. I'll read it to you. This is to Ms. Barnett. This clarifies special revenue funds must be adopted under the LGBA, and we are not aware of any exceptions to this requirement. We don't dispute that. The LGBA does not specifically address the establishment of a special revenue fund, which is often an accounting function. This is an accounting function. That's why how we were using it. We have several, we call it special revenue funds, but at the end of the year, those funds roll up under GASB into the general fund, as I can appreciate it. Is that correct?
We have a fund that does that. If it's not clearly meet the guidelines of GASB as a special revenue fund, we have to do that for the audit purposes.
So we just have a difference of opinion from that of Commissioner Jackson. And the reason why you see the legislation on here today, we did talk to the legislative auditors because they called us too. And they said we had a note in our budget book and also in the annual audit report as to the specific of the Section 8 and the Head Start, which was started back 68 years ago. We made reference to that, but they said to lessen the confusion, take the step to clear it up and leave a note out in the future. That's why we put it on the agenda, to clear up any confusion so we can move forward.
Okay.
I had a point of clarification.
I'll yield it.
Yield your time to.
Yes, I'll yield.
Well, I had a clarification.
Yes, sir.
One, I never said that administration did anything wrong, but I want to be clear. I want to be clear that the legislative auditor's office contacted y'all because I contacted them.
We
contacted them
Okay.
first because y'all asked us to.
Well,
And that's why you got the letter on April 8th.
no, we never asked
Yes, sir,
y'all to
you did.
contact the. We never approved anything.
Well, when that first came up, there was a question arose.
Right.
We contacted the legislative auditor for clarification.
Right. And this is on the agenda because the legislative auditor's office said that it needs to be placed on the agenda. So
there's confusion.
when my time comes up, I'll read my letter that I got from the legislative auditor.
I'll wrap this up really quick, President.
You ain't got no more time.
No more time? All right. No
You
more
ate
time.
up all your time.
All right.
Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think Commissioner Jackson makes some very good points, but I'm sure there's an alternative view, and you've expressed some of that alternative view here, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
I'm just trying to get some clarification on, the same issue affects ordinance number 6053 that we're discussing currently, correct?
sir.
As well as 6057, 6058, 6059.
Right.
And 60, 6061, and 6062.
Right.
So I want a clear response from your legal team what the proper legal interpretation is on this issue. I respect Commissioner Jackson. I think he makes some very good points, but it's pretty gray out here for us right now, and we're about to be asked to vote on a pretty gray area on 7 items.
Commissioner, what the Local Government Budget Act speaks to is that you are required to adopt a budget. The Chief Executive Officer or / Administrator is required to prepare and submit that budget to you annually. Our office has looked at the Local Government Budget Act as well as the 123 Attorney General opinions that cite it, and we don't find any mention of a requirement that funds, that there is a statewide requirement that special revenue funds be established by legislative act. I would note that part of the problem with that is that when such a fund is required is a matter of auditing and accounting. It's the General Government Accounting Standards Board, or GASB as is referred to, and also the Government Finance Officers Association have standards with regard to when those special revenue funds have to be established or not established. And to come to you with legislation about establishing that presupposes that you have the ability to refuse to establish it. And that would be, in our view, contrary to the intent, because if the government accounting standards require the establishment of the fund, yet the commission refuses to do that, what position does that put the parish in? And as the legislative auditor referenced, establishing those funds is usually a matter of accounting. Now, that's not to say that a commissioner could not, as a matter of legislation, establish a fund, which is what Commissioner Jackson did with the Housing Trust Fund several years ago. But it's not a requirement, as we see it, that every special revenue fund in the parish be enacted and established by legislation. That's a matter of accounting and auditing done administratively by the executive branch.
Thank you. That's it for me, Mr. President.
All right. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think at last meeting when this controversy came up, I specifically asked the administration to work with Commissioner Jackson to get this matter cleared up for this time. Now, is the letter that you're reading over there, Administrator, in your opinion, does that clear that problem up?
Sir, yes, sir. Well,
Because I need to know for my vote.
I think from my perspective, it may have, but perhaps Commissioner Jackson may still have a different opinion on this, because the letter I'm making reference to is one I sent you all on April the 8th. That outlined the entire process of what we use, how we go about establishing a fund, and so on and so forth, historically and presently. And I did make reference in this letter that if the commission wants to establish enable legislation, it can, because you did it 3 times in the last 22 years, so you can.
So there's more than one way to skin a
Yes, sir.
cat.
So enable legislation.
The way you're putting it here now, we will not be prevented from doing what we need to do.
Right.
Maybe I can put it in those plain terms.
Right, that's correct. Yeah, I just
It
think
doesn't conflict with anything.
No, sir. I think in the past, when commissioners wanted to do certain things, you had that right to set up enabling legislation to tell us how you want the program ran. The administration does not need to do that, because we can create the budget, because we had to present the budget.
Okay. Okay, so far as you're concerned, from your perspective,
Yes, sir.
you've done what you needed to do to clear this up?
Yeah, I think I did.
That's what I'm asking,
Yes, sir, I think I did.
because that's what I requested.
Yes, well, that's what you got in writing.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Carthel.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I think we're being mired in the narcissism of small differences. It is my understanding that if a couple words was changed in Commissioner Johnson, President Johnson's ordinance, then that would afford us the opportunity for these dollars to have a landing space on our balance sheet, meaning that we couldn't expend any money until we do what Commissioner Jackson is suggesting. So we got a 2-prong approach here. We got a mechanism by which we're setting up a scenario to receive the dollars. We're not going to do it. We can't do anything with them until we do what Commissioner Jackson is suggesting. So
Until we get the guidance from the Treasury Department, sir.
What makes it, with the resolution to Commissioner Jackson's problem be to change the wording in Commissioner Johnson's ordinance so that it can just come to, so that the federal government can send us the money, we can put it on our balance sheet. Then before we expending the money, we can adopt what he's doing to move on down the road. Or is that an oversimplification of my understanding of this?
Yes. Commissioner Cawthorn, if you recall, when we first started talking about this a few weeks ago, you had Commissioner John Atkins and Commissioner Johnson asked us when we were moving the money, the CARES money into the Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund, you asked the Director of Finance what would have been her preference. And she stated that she would like to keep it separately in a separate account.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't pushing back on Commissioner Jackson's legislation to put it in there to begin with, because we could track it. We had to create another step for us. But preferably, we like to keep it separate because of the complexities and the guidelines that you get from the federal government have to be pretty strict.
Absolutely.
So when Commissioner Johnson called me and said, Doc, what are you going to, this money's coming, what are you going to do with the money coming from the American Rescue Plan? I walked down the hallway and talked to Ms. Haley Barnett, and I said, Haley, what do you suggest? Well, I suggest we create a separate fund and keep it separate. So when she said in this meeting which she would preference, she said in person, and Commissioner Johnson said, well, put money in there too. The administration would have done that anyway. And we don't push back when commissioners want to add their names to legislation around here. We don't. Because as long as we get the legislation done, that's the objective.
So the resolution to this could be
Yes, sir.
allowing the money to come in, not expending it in any shape, form, or fashion, and adopting what Commissioner Jackson is proposing today. Or a two-pronged approach.
Men with Commissioner and administration had put forward to create and adopt, even though we don't need to, because creating a fund is itself is creating a fund.
Okay, so can we get that done? Can we do that in the next 2 minutes?
Yes, sir.
So we can move on down the road.
Add one word, he had the same language, right?
I think there's a problem with that, though.
Okay, that's the fix.
Okay.
Let's fix it.
Ladies, please let me know if I'm speaking out of turn.
Commissioner, you all have an item before you on Thursday. Should it pass on Thursday, we will be creating the American Rescue Plan and having a fund available to accept those dollars. This particular resolution, if you pass it on the next meeting, it just would enhance what we've already would have done. Yes, on Thursday, you can add language to say create and adopt, and that would essentially create the fund and adopt the revenues. That is an option. But if you leave it at adopt, we're gonna create the fund. Because once we receive monies, we have to deposit those monies somewhere. And if we choose as administration to create a fund, we do have, there's nothing that prevents us from doing that. But what we are preventing from doing is spending those funds without coming to the commission and asking how you all want us to spend those dollars. But revenue at some point, when it comes through the door, goes into a fund, whether it's a new fund or an established fund. But it has to go into a fund. And it can be a fund that we create through administration, then present a budget to you all to adopt. What's happening on Thursday is we're presenting just the revenue side for you to go ahead and adopt. Should that pass, we're going to create, even if, let's say you don't pass a fund, when the monies come through on May 11th, if you don't pass that on Thursday, or you don't pass this resolution, when the monies come through on May 11th, we will have to establish a fund to put those in, even if you all haven't established, because we can establish that fund. But what we cannot do is spend those monies. They will sit there with no budget, no anything, sit there until you all pass a budget.
That's the same thing I'm saying. So it looks like to me, we could merge these two ordinances and we'd be done.
I'd like to do that.
I suggest
That's what it seems like to me. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm finished.
Well, I guess when my turn comes.
Okay. All right. So, from my understanding of all this, the one that will be voted on Thursday, if we amend one word, it basically will be the same as this.
No.
That's what they say.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And so there's no need to pass this if that makes that change. If we vote no on both of these, administration has the right still to create a fund to put the money into.
That's correct.
We would then have to come back and say how that money would be expended. You can't expend it until you find out what the guidelines are.
Absolutely.
And the guidelines have not came out yet. They're supposed to come out around May the 6th. So if we go ahead and allow the one that's already has progressed to keep on progressing, make the amendment, if that makes Commissioner Jackson happy of changing the word, then you got it coming in and you got a process of holding, if you want to, per se. But as it stands now, whether we pass it or fail on either one of them, they can still set up a fund to put the money into. So the last one we had basically was talking about setting up a fund and naming it. And the money will come into that and it wouldn't go into general fund like it did with the like it did with the emergency rental act. That money went into general fund first, then had to be switched out into the E. Edward Jones from that other ordinance. What I was basically proposing, along with finance, was to create a fund before the money comes to put it into that, so it never has to go into general fund. Now, once the guidelines come, because this is federal money, we can set up how we will expend that money.
Same thing I just said.
Yes.
3 minutes ago.
So we already got a process rolling to handle this. It just, somebody want to do it different. Commissioner Gage Watts is gone.
I never
Commissioner
got it first
Hopkins?
time around.
Huh?
I did a clarification. I never spoke the first time.
That was okay then.
That was
All
a
right.
clarification.
All right. Well, I'm showing y'all clarifications because that was more than
I'm
a
just, hey,
clarification.
it's a privileged motion, so.
All right. Go ahead.
I want to thank everybody for basically making my point. I think Henry made it the best. This body has the authority to either say they want to establish or not establish a fund, because we are duly elected to do so. And to say that the only fix, we just postponed ordinance 6051. Mr. Clerk, why did we postpone 6051 just now? What was
the language in the title was inaccurate.
Oh, it was something wrong with the title. Well, let's jump down to all I keep hearing is, and it's been advertised, correct? It's been advertised. Well, this ordinance has been advertised as adopting a budget, not creating a budget or creating a fund. So you cannot just come in and just add the word create to the title and move on down the road. It's an advertising issue at that point. We got a title problem at that point. If we had done it right, because see there's a lot of backstory that's missing. Because I had threatened to call the legislative auditor's office, and I was told, I ain't gonna say who, I was asked not to do that. Commissioner Burrell, that they would work with me, and they wouldn't, and there was no need for the legislative auditor. There's no need for a legislative auditor or an AG opinion right now. And so I agreed. And I said, well, don't put it on the agenda. Well, block. Commissioner Lazarus, the next meeting, here is a ordinance to adopt a budget. Because remember, they had said I was originally wrong about adopting the budget altogether. And how did we find out about these budgets? When Commissioner Johnson asked about where should we place the emergency rental assistance fund. It was then that we found out that we even had a Section 8 fund, that we even had a CCAA fund. And I asked, show them to me. Well, Commissioner, here's the paragraph in the budget. I said, no, that doesn't comply with the Local Government Budget Act. This statement does not comply. And it was not until I reached out to the legislative auditor's office, and they may have reached out to, that it came before this body. So we were expending dollars the whole time without even knowing. Nothing in this ordinance says that the ordinance on Thursday says create the fund. I'm not trying to impede on
us getting the dollars. I want us to get the dollars, and I want us to set it up in the right fund. But I think we need to do it decently and in order. I would have loved to, Dr. Wilson, have worked with y'all on an ordinance that would have created and adopted. I would have loved, but nobody reached out to me to do that. What I was told was, y'all were going to get with the legislative auditor's office, find out first, and then y'all were gonna get back to me. What ended up happening was, this ordinance ended up on the agenda.
Because we were talking about two different things at the time.
But it all is related to the same. Like I said, I would have loved to have partnered on this deal. But I'm not here trying to obstruct the fund being set up or the budget being adopted. I'm simply saying it's got to be done the same way, and to simply, so are y'all telling me that we can't adopt 6051 today because it's got a title issue? Because we can just amend, Jeff, we can just amend 6051 if we can just amend this other one down here. If that's what you're telling me is all we got to do is amend the title, well, let's go back to 6051 and make the amendment. You can't do that because now you got a title issue. And the only thing that has been advertised is adopting a budget. Nothing has been advertised about creating a budget or about creating a fund. And I am of the position that we have to be consistent with what we do across the board. Commissioner Teleferro may want to come and have a law officer special revenue fund. Should he have to come through the body and get all his votes done? But when Commissioner John Paul wants to create the Community Gardens Fund, he just go to administration and say, well, administration, you owe me a favor, or, you know, I need you to do me a solid, create this fund. I have a request to the Attorney General's office right now asking, can a non-elected, because even the mayor can't create a special revenue fund without going through the city council. The governor can't create a special revenue fund. The MLP, all of these funds that the state has, the statutory dedication, oh, he's gone. Statutory dedication funds, all of those are created by acts of the legislature. And there are other statutes that may not be the Local Government Budget Act, because I got my email from Eric Sloan in the legislative auditor's office that says an attorney general opinion may help get you where you need to go, and I'm prepared to do that. So I think just as out of a matter of safety, I think we need to create this fund, and I'm fine. I plan to vote for the ordinance on Thursday, but I do not believe you can simply amend the language into it, because now you got a title issue. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, I think the more we talk, the more confused I get. But let me pull out one thing from being a board member for CCAA, working with the parish, and now as a commissioner. I thought we have legislation that we do a yearly resolution, that all we're doing is passing through the money to CCAA.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
So we don't actually have a fund that we manage.
No.
We have a fund on the books that we, at the advice of the auditors, that we have that fund in for financial statement purposes, but CCAA draws down the money, we write the check. There are no other expenses, it's just they request the money from HUD, we then write the check to CCAA. That is all that is happening with that particular fund. But it has been recommended as a special revenue fund, and because it is classified as a special revenue fund, after Dr. Wilson, when this issue came up, Dr. Wilson sent you all an email stating to you all that he will contact the legislative auditors and seek their guidance as to whether or not we should set up a special revenue fund for Section 8 and Head Start. Because our practice in the past is, because those are grant funds that are handled by outside agencies and the budget is not readily convertible, we were not adopting budgets for those, but that was stated in our audit report as well as our budget. Though that was clearly stated, legislative auditors had reviewed that, the external auditors reviewed that, and that was accepted. However, they did state to us that they felt like it was, because it is a special revenue fund, that there should be a budget adopted. Once we received that information, Dr. Wilson sent you all a letter stating that that's what they said, and therefore we would be putting an item on the agenda today to adopt a budget for the Section 8 fund and the Head Start fund. But yes, you are correct. The overall administering of those funds are being handled by CCAA through their board. They're also being audited by their auditors, as well as the feds come in often to look at the CCAA funds. But you do adopt an annual resolution in relation to that fund.
And then we do the same thing with our Section 8 housing. We do it on a 5-year plan.
Correct.
And then annually.
Correct.
We have a 5-year plan, and then we come back annually.
Correct, but
and
now you
approve
will
it.
have an actual budget that is presented. You have it presented today, and when Dr. Wilson presents the 22 budget, that will be there. You will see an additional $10 to $11 million in expenses, but you will see it in and you will see it out. There is no net effect on the fund balance, because it'll be a net effect of 0, because what we get in is what we pay out. Same thing for Section 8. What we receive in is what we pay out.
But
So
it
you
has
really
to be in
don't
our
have-
comprehensive budget.
Sir?
But it's got to be in our comprehensive budget.
We will be presenting it in the overall budget, yes.
So that's all we need on those two funds. I know we're.
Those
kind of
funds are
mentioned everything.
established. Those funds are established
funds are
and
established
exist
and they're done
currently
annually.
today.
Okay.
They're there, they exist, they will continue to be there. Those funds have been established. You're dealing with this one that we haven't effectively established yet on American Rescue. The other two funds exist. This particular fund, in our opinion, will exist if you vote on it Thursday. It can exist even if you don't vote it on Thursday, because once we get the money in, we have to put them somewhere.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm calling for the question. Question's been called by Chair, second by Commissioner Carthon. Let's vote.
Voting on the question, sir?
Yes.
All right, that motion passes with 10 in support and 2 absent.
All right, let's vote on the motion at hand.
Mr. Chair, one clarification. We're voting up and down on Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Ordinance.
Yes.
To advance
To not to
advance
advance.
Thursday.
Not to
Introduce.
advance or to advance.
To advance. Okay.
To advance or not to advance. Fine.
Gotcha.
Advance for introduction.
All right, let's see.
It fails. 5-5.
Motion does not carry. It's got 5 yeas, 5 nays, and 2 absent. And that brings us to the next item, which is to authorize introduction of ordinance number 6054 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund in the amount of $20,000 to provide an appropriation for Bernstein Development and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. Commissioner Copeland.
So move.
Second. Been moved by Commissioner Carthon, seconded by the chair. Commissioner Carthon, you will speak to your motion?
Yeah, this, this one and the one that's right on there are 2 local entities, that's nonprofit groups and our NGOs, who, when we did the deal in COVID, they were never funded. And so what we're trying to do is they have submitted the information that we need. Some of it is attached to the agenda today. And for them to have a 2021 allocation.
Commissioner, you done? Commissioner Carthon,
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
Commissioner Chavez.
Motion to englobe and advance 54 and 55.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Chavez and seconded by Commissioner Carthon to englobo and advance ordinance number 6054 and 6055 of 2021. Commissioner Chavez, you want to speak to that motion? Commissioner Hopkins.
I just, since, and that's fine, if they're both in Globo. My question is, in 2020, there was money left over, correct?
Correct.
From the Bernstein Group of $10,000. Is that what their initial appropriation was?
Yes, yes.
So then why do they need to have an appropriation of $20,000 in 2021? I guess that's my question.
Oh, so I'm sorry. You asked the question. Hey, can you help us on that clarification? That funding for Bernstein.
So on Bernstein, you're correct. So they did not receive their funding in 2020 because of the COVID suspension. And so originally, I think they even applied for like 25,000. They only got 10, but they never received it. And then they've applied for 10. I think, according to my conversation with Commissioner Hawthorne, they did have their programs in 2020.
Yes.
And so they have the 2020 expenses. And so that's why they wanted a double appropriation for 2021 to help offset some of their 2020 expenses.
Correct.
Answers my question. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, see no other commissioners for the vote.
Motion carries with 10 yeas and 2 absent. And the next item is to authorize introduction of ordinance number 6056 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Reserve Trust Fund and the Capital Outlay Fund for the year 2021.
Move to advance.
Second.
56. Been moved by the chair and seconded by Commissioner Hopkins to advance ordinance number 6056 of 2021. Seeing no one on the board.
Sir, I'm on the board.
Okay.
Trying to get on the board.
Okay.
A quick question for Dr. Wilson. I mean, this is a significant amount. I have read the proposed legislation, but this is the first I recall hearing about this incident. Can you know? Have we talked about this?
Yes, sir. It went to committee.
I wasn't on that committee,
yes,
I guess.
sir. And we talked about it on the floor. And Commissioner Johnson requested that we go out and get a realtor to look at areas outside the city limit. And we did that. We couldn't come up with any compatible commercial products, facilities that we need. So we back to where we started.
Okay.
And it may be less than that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Hopkins.
I guess my only other question is, we're getting money out of the Reserve Trust Fund
Yes, sir.
and the capital outlay, or just the Reserve Trust Fund?
I think this would do a trust fund.
Okay, so it'll take a, what, 3/4, 2/3
Yes, sir.
vote on that, okay.
Right.
Sure, okay.
Seeing no one else, let's vote to advance or not to advance.
That motion carries with 10 yeas and 2 absent. The next item is to authorize introduction of ordinance number 57 of 2021. It's an ordinance to establish the Head Start Special Revenue Fund and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So move for introduction.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Young. Commissioner Jackson, want to speak to your motion?
Yeah, I think it's, again, this is a formality. I think we need to be doing them. I think we need to set forth specific enabling legislation so that we have a clear and consistent process that we have and not necessarily doing things on the fly. I ask for our favorable consent.
Commissioner Atkins.
Dr. Wilson, I'm trying to determine if 57, 58, and 59 are indeed linked. I see that Commissioner Jackson has been the proposal, has proposed 6057, but administration is also listed beside 58 and 59. What's going on here? Do we need? Are these 3 indeed linked or not?
No.
Well,
Nope.
Commissioner, the 2 from Commissioner Jackson, and he'll have to speak for himself, but I believe those are, those 2 funds exist. They already are being accounted for. They have been in your annual audit. You have not adopted budgets for those 2 funds, but those funds already exist. And I believe because there was not enabling legislation in the past, this essentially will go back and have enabling legislation. It's debate as to whether or not you need that. Now, what administration is asking is presenting budgets to you all to actually adopt budgets for those two funds, because budgets were not presented to you all in 2020 nor 2021. So we need those particular items in order to have a budget for 2020 and 2021. And from that point forward, you will be getting these budgets in the budget presentation that is provided by Dr. Wilson.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Burrell.
Just as a point of clarification, because we've been bouncing back and forth on this, seemed like a procedural matter. I respect Commissioner Jackson because he's pretty astute at many things, but I don't want to convolute. Well, I wouldn't say convolute. I don't want to confuse anything. What's being done in 6057? It doesn't change anything. It just creates a little different process.
No,
It's not
the fund already exists. There is a Head Start fund right now. There is a Section 8 fund right now. So, but I believe it's to go back and do something that we did not, that there's a opinion that we should have done this before. Yeah. And since we didn't do it, there's an opinion that we should do it now. But the funds actually exist already. The funds are there. We have the funds. They're in your annual audit. They're on your financial statements. The financial statements that you get presented each month, they're in there. So
I recognize that the fund has been set up, but 6057 create what we call enabling legislation, in which I'm very familiar with that from the state standpoint. I guess my concern is, does it change anything? It doesn't change anything. So it's a formality.
Just clean up.
Yeah,
that's what all of it is.
Just
cleaning up.
And all eight.
Okay. Well, is that important?
What do you mean?
The question is that important for us to clean it up?
Well, actually, this fund has existed for 68 years. And Commissioner Jackson is pointing out that perhaps at the beginning it should have been enabling legislation, and that's what he's trying to put in place.
Okay.
And the commission has the prerogative to do that if it chooses to.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Jackson, is that correct?
Yeah, I think Dr. Wilson, I think you explained it better than I could have. And Commissioner Burrell, you're right. It's cleanup. That's all it is we do not have a consistent way of enacting funds. And so all we're doing is, this doesn't stop anything, this doesn't start anything. But if we're going to have special revenue funds, we need to do them consistent with what special revenue funds by legislative authorities set them up. This won't be the last time, I imagine, we have to deal with a special revenue fund. And so this is more technical cleanup. I don't understand why the body doesn't want to have enabling legislation or don't want to be on the record as creating enabling legislation, but I think we should. And I think we owe it to the people who come behind us to get it right and get it as close to right as possible. And so that's why all I'm saying is, I'm not saying that anybody did anything wrong. They took what was handed to them and is making the best out of it. But as you know, in your capacity as a legislator, things come up. You find that things are have been sort of overlooked and things have just been done that way. But to just say this is the way we've done it, I don't think that's right. And you should have the enabling legislation in place, the framework in place to do it. Because what's going to happen is somebody else is going to want to do a special revenue fund, and they're going to have to come to this body, get the votes to get it passed, and they won't have a special, they won't have the benefit of it. But then somebody else may come, duly elected, and say, well, I'm just going to go and see if I can get administration to propose and create the special revenue fund. Why should we allow somebody to have that political benefit over another member? Everybody should including the administrator, should have the ability and should be required to come and have enabling legislation for any fund. I've never seen a governmental body that has never required, show me a governmental body. They say that the rest of our funds, I disagree. When you put it before a vote, that's the enabling legislation. The voters enabled you to do it. That was legislation that had to go before the voters did it. You cannot walk over to Capital One tomorrow, open a bank account without producing some type of enabling documents. They want to see articles of incorporation. They want to see your ID. They want to know what is it being used for. You can't just go and say, here, put this $10 in my account, John, and then you start taking $10 out. There has to be a process to get you there. And this is that. As much as the minutia as it may be, is what we should be doing as stewards of the public, supervisors for this particular governmental body. Thank you.
Commissioner Carter.
I just want the Head Start fund essentially comes into the parish as a pass-through, and then we write a check and send it out to them. So we take it off, send it through our balance sheet, and then we write a check, and then it becomes on that balance sheet.
Yep.
How much enabling legislation we need to do for that? I don't disagree. You know what I'm saying?
No,
I agree.
Your question to staff or your question to?
Well, actually, I'm actually addressing it to Commissioner Jackson.
No, I understand, but as minute of a process as it is, it still needs to be done. Okay. That's not to say that it shouldn't be done. I mean, I got a savings account where I just put money in, but the bank still ain't gonna let me put the money in there without me going through the process of opening an account.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Okay, so in the Head Start fund on administration, your attempt to clean up was ordinance number 6058 and 6059, and not 6057, because you felt that we didn't have to establish it since it's been around since 64 years. Okay, so in 64 years, we probably had 20-some CPAs and probably 10 attorneys look at this same deal, and there was no issue. To be good stewards of the people's money, this money is still traceable whether we do this or not, because you can know where the money comes in, where the money comes out. I think the major confusion is dealing with when Commissioner Jackson had to set up the E. Edward Jones Fund. He had to go through a lot to enable that fund to exist. That fund took money from existing funds, which had to be brought in and then had to be set up because we did not have any type of housing funds. The fund that we talked about a little earlier, the American Rescue Fund, that's funding that's coming from the federal government, which will have guidelines on how you can use that money, which is a big difference. If I wanted to set up a dog and cat fund, rescue fund, then I would have to set up enabling legislation to say how we can utilize that, where it's gonna come from, and then how we gonna spend it, and what type of votes it's gonna take, and all that. But when you get federal grant money, basically what you need to do is keep it segregated and then follow the guidelines of the federal government in order to be able to utilize that money.
Point of order. I am not saying, number one, the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund, when we set it up, it didn't take money from anywhere.
It did.
No, it didn't. We did not appropriate monies. We did not appropriate monies until 2 years after. It did not take money.
We still had to transfer $200,000 into that fund for 2 years.
Mr. President, that was 2
Plus
years
there was
after.
money that I found for you
But
in
that
order
was
to get
2
to $1
years
million.
after. You're saying
But it's still the fund though.
But we enabled it though. We didn't take any money from anywhere. You're mixing the two up. We didn't take any
If we
money from
transferred
anywhere.
funds from another
We
fund
came back and
into-
we amended the legislation to take the money.
but it went into the Edward Jones Fund
But
to
but
get $1
to
million.
set it up, we didn't take any money from anywhere. So to set it up,
I didn't say to set it up. I said we transferred money into
you did
Edward
say, you
Jones.
say it needed enable legislation because it took money from
It
existing
did.
funds.
Over a period of time, it did.
It did not. When we set it up, it did not.
That's your interpretation. I got mine.
Well, that's
So-
the truth. It didn't. You can look in the record. When we adopted it, it had no money attached to it at all.
Today, it has $1 million.
It does.
That
But that
came
was after
from-
amending that,
came
amending the
from-
fund.
What did it come from, though?
But we had to amend
Where-
the
but
fund
where
to
did
do
that
that.
money
It
come
came
from?
It came from the general fund, but it had to be amended though.
It did
is
not
what
come
I'm
from
saying.
general fund.
Well, wherever it came from, it had to be amended into the legislation.
My point exactly.
Not to set it up.
It was still coming from public dollars that already existed from the parish. That is the point at hand. Dr. Wilson.
Okay, Commissioners, I just want to give you an idea. When we deal with the federal government, this is just about 5 pounds of paperwork. This is the Housing Trust Fund. This not Housing Trust Fund. Head Start program. We have to follow these guidelines in here. This is what enables us to do what we do when we give it to Mr. Gentry over at CCAA is a sub-grantor. We are the grantees, and this is the process we had to go through to get it. But like Erica and Haley were saying, we get $10 million in one day, goes out the next day. We have no expense against it. Okay, and this body can create any enabling legislation it wants to. But we don't create funds without a revenue source coming into it. We preferably have a revenue source to sustain what you create.
I think you just made my point.
Call for the question, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Question has been called by Commissioner Burrell and seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Let's vote.
We're voting on
Calling for the question. Yes.
All right, that motion carries with 9 in support and 3 absent.
Now vote on ordinance 6057 to advance or not.
Okay, that motion does not carry. There are 4 yeas and 6 nays and 2 absent. And
Next
that
item.
brings us to the next item, which is authorized introduction of ordinance number 6058 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the 2020 budget to adopt the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Head Start Fund and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. Continue. This is to
Motion, Mr.
authorize,
Chairman.
the next item is 12.9. It's
Hold
au-
on. Got a motion now.
Yeah, I wanted to amend that motion to englobe 6058 and 6059.
It's been moved by Commissioner Burrell to global and advance 6058 and 6059, and seconded by Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Burrell, you want to speak to that motion?
No.
All right, Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to say to amend and create the budget item.
Die for a second.
I'll second that. I didn't
Die
know
for a
if
second.
I know you're done talking.
He seconded. Commissioner
Die
Chopper
for a
seconded.
second.
No, sir, he seconded the motion.
You can't do it because it's in the title, remember?
Well, I mean, but the motion just
Being
been
petty.
I mean, what is we doing? That's what I'm saying. Be consistent now.
So, basically, no.
Y'all just said we gonna do it on Thursday. So if we can do it on Thursday, we
Well,
can definitely.
I didn't know it was in the title. If it's in the
Well,
title,
I just
you can't do it.
I have a motion on the floor.
And
to
I said
amend.
it died for a second. And then after I said died for a second, you got a second.
Back to
Ready to vote? Let's vote.
My thing on the board. I press my button.
Commissioner Jackson.
I make a motion to amend these two to say amend and create the 2020 and 2021 budget.
Second.
They're still changing the title.
I got a motion on the floor. I mean, I think we should just establish that we can just add create into the budget, into the language.
That's fine.
So, are we gonna ask the parliamentarian or the attorney for an opinion or something? Because I'm trying to figure out, if we're gonna do it on Thursday, why not do it today? I'm just trying to make sure that I'm in the same meeting.
Nobody has respected the parliamentarians so far, so I don't think it's in order.
Our parliamentarian said.
Parliament said it's not in order. So let's vote on the in global in advance of 58 and 59.
Right.
Mr. Chavez?
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. This just, can I speak?
Go ahead.
Okay, this is for the administration. The Head Start program, this is kind of like what I had a previous question on the last one. Is this, is there already a fund for this? Is this?
Yes.
It's already set up? Okay. All right, that's it. Thank you, Sheriff.
All right, let's vote, please.
And that motion carries with 8 in support, 1 in opposition, 1 abstention, and 2 absences.
So what's your abstention?
I am abstaining because I do not believe that my motion was properly recognized. It was stated earlier that you can simply add create. I think it was well stated up here that you could add create to the title, and that should suffice. And I think that's what we're planning to do on Thursday. And my other reason for abstaining is I do not believe that you can adopt a budget without creating it be a legislative act.
Next item.
Next item is 12.10, which is authorized introduction of ordinance number 6060 of 21, an ordinance to establish the Section 8 Special Revenue Fund and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So move for introduction.
Die for a second. Next item.
Authorized introduction of ordinance number 6061 of 2021, an ordinance amending the 2021 budget to adopt the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Section 8 fund and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So move for introduction.
Second, 6061?
Yes.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Atkins to advance ordinance 6061.
Mr. President, with Commissioner Jackson's concurrence, I'd like to englobe on advance 6061 and 6062.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Atkins, seconded by Commissioner Hopkins or Jackson. I just heard something, I heard the phone at the same time. Which one of y'all? Oh, Hopkins. To englobo in advance 6061 and 6062. See no one on the board?
I'm on the board. I've been pressing my button down here.
Oh, it's not showing.
Is this working? I guess I'm in the queue.
That was
You're already
from
on
last
the
time. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to amend these two to say an ordinance to amend and create to create and amend the 2020 budget for 2020 and 2021.
I'll second that.
Same thing.
Okay.
I mean, I'd like to hear from the parish attorney.
Well, I'm asking the parliamentarian first.
I'm gonna have to pass it on to him because under the circumstances, from what I'm gathering, and I'm sure it's gonna go to the parish attorney, that since this has been advertised, we can't change the title.
Really?
incorrect, but that's what I'm hearing. It's so confusing at this point. I'll turn it over to the attorney. I'll turn it over to the attorney.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Parliamentarian.
I'll get final answer from the attorney. Henry?
And what was your question for me?
Question is, given the fact that these have been advertised already, it's my understanding that we cannot change the title at this juncture by amending it.
My first question is for the clerk. Has this been advertised?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's
So
on this agenda.
It's on the agenda.
The tricky piece of this is that you have both the question of the title and the question of notice to the public as to what you're proposing to do. As long as the public is on notice as to what you're intending to do, then the title is sufficient. It is a question for the body as to whether that considers, whether taking this from an ordinance amending the 2020 budget to adopt a budget and adding into there an ordinance enacting the Section 8 fund and amending the budget is putting the public on notice of what your intent is.
But the way it's presently stated is the way it was advertised. The question
That's
to
correct.
me is, and based upon what I've been hearing, is that if you're changing the title, especially when you say adopt and, create and adopt, that word adding.
Well, it's more than create and adopt. It's actually because the title says an ordinance amending the 2020 budget to adopt the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures. Somewhere in there, you will need to add the language and establish the Section 8 fund. So it's more than just enact. It's a little bit more language than that, because you would have to put in there language, an ordinance establishing the Section 8 fund and amending the 2020 budget.
But given the fact that the public doesn't know that as of yet, this was advertised the way it's stated. And so we cannot change it in the middle of the stream, is what I'm understanding.
My comment was by doing that, you are raising the possibility that somebody could challenge it.
Okay, well, we
and
don't want
result in
challenges.
it being, could challenge it in a court of law and basically result in it being in limbo for 4, 5, 6 months.
I'm going to retract my second. I believe Commissioner was just trying to make a point. So
Okay,
I'll
so
take it off.
that basically died for a second. Let's vote on the englobo and advancing of, what is that, 6061 and 6062.
All right, that motion carries with 9 in support, none in opposition, 1 abstention, and 2 absent.
Speech here.
Yes, Mr. President, I rise for my vote to abstain is because one, I do not think that you can adopt a budget without having enabling legislation by the legislative body. That, to my knowledge, has not happened. And then I think that we have established that all we have to do is add create in front of it, which is what we say we're gonna do on Thursday. And that should be sufficient enough, so I'm abstaining out of abundance of caution.
Next item, please.
Next item is authorized introduction of ordinance number 6063 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the general fund to provide an appropriation for a safe summer work placement program.
So move for introduction.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Jackson, want to speak on your motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is simply setting aside some dollars for the Safe Summer Summer Work Program. Don't want to get it confused with the regular summer program that we have, where individuals work at the parish. The goal is to put students out into places of employment, and even if the parish want to do the other ones just like that as well. I do believe it's consistent with what can be reimbursed from the American Rescue Fund dollars. You know, we don't have a whole lot of time to to get it done. I think we bought some time with school basically being delayed to the end of May, I believe. So it's bought us a little time to be able to do it. The dollar amount, I think Commissioner Chavez reached out to me about the dollar amount. The dollar amount really only gets you about 45 to 50 students to be able to be employed. So that may bring our total number up to somewhere between 80 to 100 students total for the summer to be employed throughout the parish. They would have to meet the low income threshold. And so again, this is just an opportunity to put kids to work. And it's an opportunity to essentially address the workforce development needs as well as some of the safety issues in our community, and hope that we'll advance this forward to Thursday. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Commissioner Carter.
Yeah, I'm gonna address this question to Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, sir.
How much are we proposing to pay the students?
It's right at probably about $8 to $10. But you also have to pay the taxes on them as well, but no more than $10.
When is the lunch time for this?
Now that I'm not, I hadn't got down into the weeds of it. I'm gonna probably defer to Erica on that. I don't know. I definitely be after school starts probably. I think school is getting out now at the end of May.
So you're trying to hit it for the beginning of June?
So probably June to the end of July, 6-week period, because you still have to get them hired. You still have to, I think you have to do a background check, those kind of things. So that little pre-work has to be done. So
let me offer a friendly amendment to you. I know you want to get this done ASAP because you're trying to get to committee. I've got an idea very similar to this. We're using some of the American Rescue dollars. If we could get it in a committee early next week, but you can sit down to see what I'm interested in doing. We can merge the two.
yeah, would it equate to more dollars? Basically, an increase in dollars. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, but probably a few more. But
So we're going to advance it, kind of do that dual track like Todd does, advance it while sending it to committee. Is what you're saying? Is that what you?
Yeah.
I mean, Todd introduced that to us. I had never heard of it. I like it.
Yeah, right.
I'm good with that. I'm fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem.
So
I like it.
What committee we need to send it to? Long-term
I'd
management?
imagine yours, huh? Economic development is more economic development than anything.
Oh, we can do that. Okay. So we need to put that in the form of a motion, or we just need to advance it?
In my motion to advance while sending it to the economic development, advance it forward while sending it to the economic development committee.
Okay, second.
Okay. Got a amendment to the motion to advance it, but at the same time, send it to the Economic Development Committee, and that's been seconded by Commissioner Condon.
Well, point of discussion, right?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, my question is,
I just want to state the motion.
since we have an existing, I'm understanding that there's an existing program. Is that what they call the internship program? Or
It's more in-house.
It's in-house.
Not an intern, but more
Summer
in-house.
work program. This in-house.
some in-house program?
Yes, where we hire kids for the organization, our organization. This is external to our organization.
So the other one is going to be an outhouse
Yes,
program.
external.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Get some of. So I had a couple of questions, knowing that it is an outside program. Going through town now, I see a lot of signs saying hiring. I mean, there's a lot of that going on because a lot of people are getting that $300 and staying at home, and so there's a lot of jobs that are already out there. And so to spend, I guess, public dollars to pay a company that's already got a sign up saying that we're hiring it's kind of like bad timing to me. Wow. But they're gonna pay them $10 as opposed to what they normally would pay.
Look, is that a question to me?
Well, I'm just saying. I'm trying to make this make sense. When you got an abundance of jobs that are out there for entry-level work, and then the company will pay for that themselves, but you want the parish to pay the student to work outside of what we normally do. And even the inside work, they do work at other parish agencies, if I'm not mistaken, right? So to put this program in place and then saying a private company, we're gonna pay a student to come work for you, which they might already have a sign up saying we're hiring. How does that work?
I assume that's a question to me.
That's a question to
Okay,
somebody.
so first of all, the response that I typically get from the parish administrator is, we don't have enough room internally to place the kids that we do have. Isn't that what I hear y'all say every year?
Yes.
And so, my thing is, send them to an organization or send them to a company, whether it's, and it doesn't have to be a McDonald's. At the city of Shreveport, those kids go to nonprofit agencies and help at nonprofit agencies. So they go all throughout the city. So just because somebody has a sign saying now hiring doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna be placed there. That's I have no supposition on where a kid may be placed. So just because you see a company with a now hiring sign out, doesn't necessarily mean these kids will also be able to be placed there. This is an opportunity to give some low-income individuals an opportunity to go to work. I get it that there's a challenge with the workforce right now and workforce demands, but this is about not only workforce, but this is also about safety and making sure that students have a productive place in the summertime to go. So as far as how much they're paid, again, $8 to $10, that's not my call. Whoever is going to administer the program and can make the budget work. What I'm saying is the dollar amount you see is based on a certain, you have to set a budget for something, and so you can't, if I had to just set the budget number at $100,000.
But I know normally with your legislations, you break it down to the detail, and so.
Say what?
Typically with your legislations, you
well,
break it down to the detail.
Well, you know, the more detail I get, it seems to be the more cynical people get about it, and so.
Okay, so that's why I was just trying to put all this together to be able to support it.
It seems like the more I say, the more.
We get it worked out in committee.
Right, so that's why I said advance it forward and then move it to committee.
Commissioner Talaferro?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had I don't know how the Safe Summer Work Placement Program works, and maybe
We've never had one before.
Say what?
We've never had one before.
Okay, so because I don't know, I would like to know more, okay? And I'd like to know who would administer it. I would like to know where the dollars would be going, on and on and on. So I don't have enough in, I'm all for putting our youth, and they don't have to be disadvantaged youth, in my opinion. Youth is youth. Youth is something that we need to support. I understand what President Johnson said is that, you know, $70,000, I know it's probably up to, but I would like to just know more. I think minimum wage is perfect for entry-level youth, not having a trade or a skill. So I'd just like to know more about, you know, how what our vision is for this particular program. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the Safe Summer. This is a new one, but we've done this traditionally over the years to get kids in here to expose them to government, to get them some office clerical work, some training, interact with mentors. At the end of the day, I think having mentors is the best way for job development. I do agree with President Johnson. The employment pool is huge right now. Being an employer myself, my wife an employer, dealing with about 3,000 businesses here, I can scroll through my Facebook feed of all my friends that have businesses, and they got help wanted everywhere. I know we have Goodwill represented over here, and they, as well as Gene Simpson, did a work fair, I think it was a week ago, last Saturday. They are hurting. I know my friend from Gene Simpson told me they have 200 openings. So I will not be on the committee that's going to discuss this for economic development, but I'll give my advice of what I'd love to see is this is a lot of money, and I know that the money is set aside to pay the kids individually. However, I would like to see some of this money utilized for marketing to help Goodwill and help Gene Simpson place those kids in those jobs that the employment pool is dwindling on, and they all have help wanted signs in front of every business. So however the Economic Development Committee can formulate a way for marketing coupled with Goodwill and Gene Simpson, I would love to see something like that come out of the committee. But like I said, I won't be there. I'll be voting to move this forward in the hopes that these funds find their way into an agreement of marketing as well as getting some kids in some jobs this summer. Thank you, President.
All right, Commissioner Corto.
Oh, I just had a few comments, but I'll just table my comments for the Economic Development Committee because the things I was going to mention, it might get into another 20-minute discussion. So it needs to be worked out in committee.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I just was gonna say that some days I don't know if I'm coming or going. If I had put the ordinance together, and I think John, you the one that said, I can't remember the word you used. I think you said you're pretty particular or specific. I think you told me I'm pretty specific, almost to a sin, is what you said. Because I give you a fact sheet, I give you a FAQ, and so if I had brought an ordinance down here that would have designated an organization to be the administrator, if I had set the dollar amount, y'all would have said, just like you did me with the rental assistant, but what's your motive? Why you got all it? I mean, what do you want me to do? I put it in a general term so nobody would think that I had anything to gain from it or I had an organization in mind. I could have easily put Goodwill as the administrator. But then that would have been, well, why Goodwill? Why you didn't go get an RFP? What's really going on?
That's a rhetorical question.
I'm just saying, I try. Like I said, John, you guys, those words stuck with me. So what do you want? Do you want me to break it all the way down and be as specific as possible? Or do y'all want me to keep it broad and generic? Or do you just don't want me to bring anything down here to consider at all? Because jumping back and forth between the two, between both ends, is not fun. Because I could have easily, and I would have been happy to have put an FAQ. I would have been happy to have broken it down specifically by who gets paid what. I'd have been happy to do that. I'm into project management, so I do that type of stuff. Do it in my sleep. While everybody was out at the game Saturday, I was at home reading. So this notion of, well, it's too broad. I don't have enough information right now. What's good? What's up? And if I try to call you, I can't get people to pick up. Commissioner Telfair,
I hear you.
can't get you to pick up. Others will, but still waiting on us to have a call. So I'm just trying to figure out, what do you want from me to do? I put the ordinance up and put it as general as I could because I don't have any presupposed ideas about how it should work or what's the successful model. I just want to give kids, and Commissioner Chavez, we're talking about children. I got the email about the Gene Simpson job fair. Those are jobs where folks have to have a trade and a skill and things of that nature. We're talking about kids, 16-year-old. What I would hear all the time is that we're paying a bunch of kids to sleep up front, to go up front, sleep in the front waiting area up here.
Not here, they didn't.
Well, but I heard them, and you heard them. But we heard them, where kids weren't doing anything at the parish. And so this is an opportunity to push them out consistent with what the JTPA program has always done. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Lazarus.
My question is, on this fact sheet, it says legal is still determining if the program is allowed. get some clarification on that?
Not at this point, Commissioner. That is something that we're looking at because our understanding is that the youth are going to be working for private businesses. So there's a question about using parish funds to essentially assist private businesses. It may be that it's possible to do under the parish's social welfare auspices, but we haven't. And our goal is to have something for you by Thursday.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Seeing no other comments, let's vote. And this to advance and also to send it to the Economic Development Committee.
Yeah. Please let me know when that committee is, because I want to be present.
And that motion carries with 9 in support, 1 in opposition, and 2 absent. And the next item is to authorize resolution, authorize resolution number 37 of 2021. It's a resolution to authorize the Caddo Parish Administrator to request and
Move to
authorize
advance.
Second.
And
Been moved by
may
Vice
I-
President.
May I
Second.
amend my motion to move in advance number 37 and 38?
I second that.
Second.
So been moved by the Vice President and seconded by the President to advance, in global and advance, Resolution 37 and 38. Seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
All right, that motion passes with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. The next item is to authorize resolution number 39 of 2021. It's a resolution amending the rules and bylaws of the Caddo Parish Commission regarding the creation of special revenue funds initiated by commissioners and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Move to place in the Policies and Procedures Committee.
Second?
Second. And if they could have a meeting before our next work session. We will.
So, all that your motion is
Yeah.
to put into policy and procedures and then for them to have a meeting before the next work session?
Yes.
All right. And it was seconded by Commissioner Carthon.
Second, yeah. Who?
You want to speak to the motion?
Yeah, who drafted this? 'Cause this title is not what I sent in. It says a resolution amending the rules and bylaws of the Caddo Parish Commission regarding the creation of special revenue funds initiated by commissioners. What did that initiated by commissioners come? Who did that?
I think Attorney Fraser may do that. Will you communicate with Attorney Fraser?
I guess so. Because that's not what I asked. That's not what I asked her to draft.
Yeah, because most of the enabling legislation has been asked for by commissioners.
But not when I've made the issue about everybody.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
It's not an attorney's place to editorialize what I'm proposing. And so when this gets to committee, I would like that to be gone, because that's not what I asked to be placed on here.
I'm not sure what you asked for, but I didn't see it.
I didn't ask for that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, no one else? Let's vote.
The motion carries with 10 in support, 9 in opposition, and 2 absent.
All right, next item.
Next item is authorized resolution number 40 of 2021. It's a resolution to authorize the addition of Austin River Road Bridge into the federal off-system bridge rehabilitation and replacement program, and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
So moved Thursday?
What was that? Oh, moved by Commissioner Chavez, seconded by Commissioner Carthon to advance resolution number 40. Commissioner, you want to speak to that? Let's vote.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support, 9 in opposition, and 2 absent. And the next item is to authorize resolution number 41 of 2021. It's a resolution to amend resolution 35 of 2021 regarding establishing an independent third-party review process into deaths at Caddo Parish-owned properties or facilities, to add a provision regarding provision of video footage and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
So move to advance to Thursday.
Second.
The move by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Burrell to advance resolution 41 of 2021 to Thursday. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak to that motion?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. This is basically just amending what we already did, and it's to preserve the camera footage that's there, or at least try to capture the camera footage that's there to make sure that it is preserved for a period of time. So that's all it is. That's all this does. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry.
I saw somebody reaching over here, so Commissioner Telefair.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. President. Do we have an indication that we don't currently, I mean, I understand the preservation because we currently do that now. All videos are archived. I'm not sure exactly how long they are, but I'm just trying to get some clarification on the verbiage here, preservation of applicable video footage.
So my understanding
I
is
don't
that,
have any indication that it's not already.
No, my understanding is that it depends on where it is, that it may roll over. I think it just basically records over it. And so basically going forward to try to just preserve that piece, not the entire data block, but that piece of it for until.
It works on different servers. So
Yeah.
Right.
It depends on the capacity of the server.
Yeah.
Correct.
So some servers are set up that you have a 30-day window.
Right.
And then some might be a 90-day.
Sure, I understand. So my question or my concern, and maybe this is for our IT people or whomever does that video storage, I know that there's only so much storage capacity. If we are preserving everything that is not looped over, in other words, we may be into a storage issue as far as the capability of doing exactly what we're proposing.
No, you can do a time frame. And
No,
you
yeah,
pull
just-
that time frame
right.
from that particular server. Instead of recording everything that whole 30 days, if the window is 15 days and it's in a certain area, then you can actually pull from that area and not have to pull the whole 30 days.
Okay, I understand pulling it. I'm not knowledgeable enough to say that you gotta store the 15 days in order to pull the more small.
Right, you have to buy
Okay.
a drive in order to store it on, like a jump drive,
What, okay.
hard drive.
And just that piece of it too, not all of it, just that piece.
Yeah, I understand. I understand pulling the video. Maybe it's the preservation part that's getting hung up on. So we'll let everybody kind of work through that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, President. Dr. Wilson, didn't we just upgrade to a server-based cloud at IT?
The latest one.
I believe we did. So we don't have like a 30 terabyte DVR that we have to worry about. So I think we're perfectly fine. This should be an easy vote.
I think it was
to move
delayed or
forward.
something.
Let me have Mr. Kevin Lawrence come forward and explain to you what the process is.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello, sir.
The storage varies at each location. For instance, CCC, we have over 37 servers. We are currently getting ready to do a big upgrade there, but the contractor cannot get all their equipment in to do it yet. So for instance, in one housing unit, we may have 30 days of storage. In another housing unit, we may have 90 days of storage, just as he explained earlier. It varies by buildings. It depends on how many cameras are on that individual server. The oldest system we have is at CCC, and like I said, we are in the midst of upgrading that. But just like everything else on our construction projects, contractors cannot get the materials in. So right now, we still have the older servers at CCC. So as far as retention goes, if a particular server has 30 days of storage, once you reach 31 days, it goes back and writes over the last day. We don't keep that data anywhere else. We'd have to have a room full of hard drives that it'd be way out of, massive. So if a server's got 90 days, on the 91st day, it rolls back and records over that last day.
First day.
Per day. Just the last day. First day, sorry.
First day.
It's been a long day. My apologies.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Does that help any?
Yeah, I think I got hung up on preservation. I think what you're just asking is it the appropriate the appropriate video footage is retrieved.
Anytime there's an incident, the individuals who have the main control of the system pull the video and keep it stored.
So it's already been.
So
it's already-
in 9.99 times out of 10, for whatever incident there was, that video has already been taken and stored in another location.
Because this is part of their standard operating procedures.
Correct.
So this is really, it's being done already.
Yes, sir. Any other questions I can help answer?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
He might want to stay.
You done?
Commissioner Telephone?
Oh, thank you, Mr. President.
All
Yes,
right.
sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson, you.
No. Now, Kevin, so when you say that, you said that it already, after a certain period, it tapes over it, right?
Yes, sir, rewrites.
It rewrites.
Yes, sir.
But then I heard you say that it's already being stored.
Every location we have, like for instance, juvenile, the juvenile staff has access to the camera system. When they have an incident, they download that incident and it's stored in a separate location where it doesn't get written over. In other words, copies are made of it, so to speak. It's in a different hard drive where it's stored.
So if there was an incident, and my hope, Kevin, is that this won't be an occasional thing, right?
Amen.
Because this would kind of be a once every blue moon, we hope never type
Yes, sir.
situation. I don't want it to look like we're creating a bunch of space or a bunch of cloud space that you're gonna need a whole bunch of cloud space or whatever to get.
Well,
this done.
none of our stuff is in the cloud.
I mean,
It's
but
all
you know what I
hard
mean.
drives. But for instance, with the sheriff department at CCC, they have operational control of the cameras and the hard drives. So if an incident occurs, their investigation team makes a copy of that video and they keep it on, whether it's a flash drive, a DVD, or another hard drive. They keep that. So if it does exceed a certain time frame and it gets written over, it's already there.
Okay.
But they keep that. We don't.
But we can, though, can't we?
We could. My only concern with pulling video for a serious thing is then we now become the owner of the chain of custody of that
Chain of
video.
custody is the concern that we've had.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's our building, though. So, I mean,
Yes, sir.
I think we keep trying to dispossess ourselves of the building. It's our building.
It's our building, it's our camera system.
Yeah,
We
it's
pay
and,
for
oh
all.
wow, it's our camera system. So that's all I'm saying is
Yeah.
that, you know, that particular piece, I don't want people to think that we're gonna keep all of the footage, but that particular, or maybe the day after, the day before, that type of stuff. So that's all
Right.
I'm saying.
I
So,
think they're preserving that.
so just preserving that particular piece. I don't want people to think that you're gonna have to have a room solely dedicated toward holding these hard drives somewhere that's gonna be stacked up to the wall.
We don't want that and
Right.
can't afford it.
And I don't think that's what this would create.
You gotcha.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
President. Or Mr. Acting
Thank you very much.
President.
Thank you. Mr. President, I have to step out momentarily. Any other
No.
questions on this item? If not, let's vote, please.
All right, that motion carries with 8 in support, 1 in opposition, and 3 absent.
Okay, thank you. Moving on,
The
Mr.
next,
Clerk.
the next item is authorizing resolution number 42 of 2021. It's a resolution establishing a citizen advisory committee of the Long Range Planning Committee to study planning and zoning in Caddo Parish and otherwise providing with respect thereto. This item was slightly amended at a committee meeting, recommended to advance with a slight amendment. That has not been made in the body that's attached yet, but it will be for your next agenda. And that expands the proposed number of members from 7 to 9.
Okay.
I'd like to move and amend and move to Thursday, the amendment and the first be it further resolved, changing from 7 members to 9 members.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Would you like to speak on your motion?
No, it went to Long Range Committee today. This is an opportunity. I went back and looked, and anything of real importance, it looks like over the last almost 40 years, we have set up an advisory committee, beginning with the Charter Committee in the late 70s, early 80s. And then with our juvenile justice, as far as the monument, animal services, ordinances, we've utilized advisory committees. I think this would be a good opportunity, because one thing we all heard last time was they didn't have any input. This will allow us to pick some people and let them be part of the process. They will meet on their own. They will come back to long range and make reports. You know, they've got different colored glasses on than we do. They might see something we're not seeing. So that's what this does.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, Chairman. Everything that Commissioner Hopkins said, and this passed out of long range with a unanimous vote for. We had many citizens that showed up, and they were happy with the results. So I'll be voting to move this forward, and I would ask that you guys all follow suit. Thank you.
Okay. I was there too. Let's vote.
That motion passes with 9 in support and 3 absent. And the next item is to authorize the special resolution of recognition for Uri Drive Middle School's boys basketball program.
I propose to englobo and advance item 1220 and 1221.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Atkins and to englobo and advance both special resolutions, and second by Commissioner Young. Commissioner Atkins, want to speak to that?
No, these are both worthy causes and easy to advance, I think.
All right, let's vote.
Can I add the one for Antioch to that?
Oh,
That's
sure.
the one that we introduced.
I'd be happy to incorporate that in englobo as well.
Second.
Okay. Let's vote. Been so long, I had to get all about it.
Yeah, I forgot about it.
The motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. And that brings us to the final item under new business, which is an action item to authorize and direct the parish administrator to request an attorney general opinion regarding protocol to establish special revenue funds.
So I move to remove this.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner
Speak.
Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Carthon to remove 12.22. Commissioner Jackson, you want to speak to that motion?
Yeah, I think that we have consistently today, and I'm glad the agenda was set up the way that it was set up, because I think a lot of points were proven today. I have reached out to some other sources and made contact with the AG's office to start that opinion, to get that opinion. I wholeheartedly do not believe that if the duly elected mayor of the city of Shreveport, duly elected governor of the state of Louisiana all have to have enabling legislation to establish funds and programs. I do not believe that a appointed administrator has the authority to simply establish a special revenue fund. And so I believe there is statute and I believe there are case law. If you listened closer to what Mr. Bernstein said, was they looked at all of the AG opinions as it related to the Local Government Budget Act. They didn't look at the statutes as it related to Home Rule Charter. They didn't look at any of the statutes, the AG opinions as it related to the role and functions of governing authorities. And so we have a governing authority, and I'm not here to abdicate our responsibility to anyone. And that's no disrespect for Dr. Wilson or his team, but I do not believe that one person should have the benefit to be able to establish a special revenue fund that 12 of us do not have. And we're the duly elected individuals that are actually responsible for the rulemaking, legislative, and policy-making body. And so I would like to, and I'm going to get an AG opinion, and I think that just like I was, and I'm not gloating here, but just like I was right about the
subrecipient situation with the emergency U.S. rental assistance. I was right about that, came back, because it was initially said that subrecipients were not allowed. I think I'll be right, just as I was about the Local Government Budget Act, when it required us to adopt the budgets and put them as a part of our comprehensive budget adoption. I think, and I'm confident that an AG opinion will come back, and again, it's just an opinion, but it will cite case law, it will cite statutes that validate that opinion, and could be the basis of, as it was said earlier, maybe a lawsuit that could be filed that could invalidate some things that we're down here doing. And so I'm passionate about it, and if I wasn't as passionate about it, I wouldn't be pursuing it. And and let me just be clear, if I'm wrong, I'll come in here and say I was wrong. And I hope that I'm wrong, but I believe I'm right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Let's vote. To remove from the agenda? No, then we'll just make that motion.
We're voting on the motion to remove, correct?
Motion to remove.
The motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. That
Next
brings
item.
us to communiques and committee reports.
Commissioner. Oh, Commissioner Young.
Yes, I have a very brief announcement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was asked to announce that the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association is having a forum for the runoff candidates in the Bessie Board election for District 4 at 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, April 20th. That's going to be in the gym at Broadmoor Presbyterian Church, 1915 Grover Place. Again, that's Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Thank you. That's all I had, Mr. President.
Mr. Carter.
Oh, good evening, Commissioners. Hey, I just want to take this opportunity to say publicly, great job that the City of Shreveport, Parish, and Caddo, our local citizens did this weekend with showcasing Shreveport, Louisiana. I was proud of our hometown. I think the investment that we made, us being the Caddo Parish Commission, our ROI is going to be 100-fold. And in addition to that, I also think that I got a chance to see the possibilities of what this city could be, economic engine that it could be. So there were a lot of people who were here from different places, and they were very complimentary on how organized we were, easy it was to get around the places. And the game was on national television, so it was just a good time to see Shreveport Caddo at its best. Thank you.
Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too wanted to commend the city and the parish, given that they helped underwrite this week's activity. That did a great job. And secondly, when I got the word that they were charging $200 a night for a hotel in Queensboro, we must have made some money somewhere. So, again, no reflection on Queensboro, of course, from the job represented for all these years, but at the same time, it appeared that the people did come. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. You insisted.
Well, I knew it was coming.
People don't see since you insisted that I speak. I'll echo everything that's been said. As a Grambling graduate, I think it was a great showing for, well, obviously the team wasn't, but I think it was a great showing for the city in general, the parish in general, just all of the activities, and folks who are just so down on our area. Hopefully it gave them an opportunity to see what can be, particularly when we are strategic about where we do things and how we do things. Hopefully there's a conversation about having a game played here at least once a year. We got to start creating that activity and making sure that we are putting people, we won't be in a pandemic forever, but what I saw was people get very creative and be very open-minded about how we can engage people beyond just a game, because the reality is everybody is not going to go to a football game. And, you know, I think that a lot of people were proven wrong. And, you know, there was some issues about businesses closing. As I stated on my Facebook page, I went to an HBCU, and the very existence and origins of historically black colleges and universities is about supporting our own. We don't go to Grambling State University looking to go use the library of Louisiana Tech. That's just not what we do. We make do with what we have, and we support those who want to support us and essentially take our money. So if there was an issue with somebody, and I'm not saying that was the case, but if there may have been an issue with somebody sort of sitting out this weekend, well, then let that bottom line be affected by them. But we have to do more to talk about the good, and that's what I want this weekend to be known for, is what good came out of it. So I commend everybody that was on the planning committee. I commend everybody that was held an event, and those folks and families who came out to simply just enjoy themselves. It was a good opportunity to showcase Shreveport and Caddo Parish. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Carter.
Yeah, I just want to chime back in and say, I think I found the medicine for Shreveport-itis this weekend. It's called success.
Yeah.
And when you replicate it, the attitudes and feelings that people may have about our own local community will begin to change. Because I often tell people, the Bayou Classic in New Orleans, it makes more money than some bowl games throughout the South. And so the possibility for economics in Louisiana exists, but we got to create the synergy and get a heavy dose of that medicine that cures this Shreveport-itis that some of our locals have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And I just want to close, chiming back in on what Commissioner Jackson was saying. Talks were started about games for next year. So, we already started working on that this year for games for next year, utilizing Independence Stadium more than what it is. That's it.
You know?
Well, got to do. Got to do citizen comments, late arrivals.
Citizens'
There are
comments,
none.
late arrivals. Citizens who wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning are able to fill out a comment card located in the chamber foyer and return to the president or the clerk of the commission.
I think Lynn wants to give an update about Goodwill 2020's over. I'm just kidding, guys.
Okay. Adjourn. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.